Lawyers.
Visit GotBrian.com.
That's GotBrian.com. WCMC HD1 Holly Springs. Take us with you on radio, web, app, Alexa, and YouTube. 99.9 The Fan, the Triangle Sports leader.
I'm WRAL meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner. Looking at mostly cloudy skies through the afternoon. A few peaks of sunshine on and off. It's warm, it's sticky, high temperatures in the mid-80s, and we may see a few pop-up showers or thunderstorms. 70 overnight tonight and tomorrow, much like today. We'll see a high of 83, variably cloudy, a chance of a shower or storm.
Weather update brought to you by Newcomb & Company, where your comfort is their business. Visit newcombandcompany.com. 3 o'clock check of your money. Dow Jones is down 261 points today to 41,946. Market update brought to you by the Good Feet Store. Ready to step into a healthy and active lifestyle? Come to the Good Feet Store and experience the difference. Discover how a simple step can lead to a life of pain-free possibilities.
O'Connell with 1 second, left wing three on the way, banks it in! He got it! I don't believe it!
Jeremy backs out, has Roberts on him, into the paint, rises up, big time!
Young throws, he's got Tommy, near side 2-1, touchdown Carolina!
To Ryan, catch and shoot three, right wing, he did it again! Ryan has 27! Anderson makes a save, and it's kept out by Martin! What a save! Martin just robbed Liquid!
The Drive with Tim Donnelly on 99.9 The Fan.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. I'm Tim Donnelly alongside producing the show, Dennis Cox. This week feels a little weird, doesn't it? For a whole bunch of reasons. The college teams in the state of North Carolina, outside of Duke, not playing great, getting smacked. Carolina, meaning the Panthers, playing great. We got undefeated college football players deciding to put their team on blast and stop playing.
It's like we're in the upside down of Stranger Things.
Our pets' heads are falling off. There's just feels kind of crazy, right? Well, guess who it feels crazier for? The people inside the locker room in Raleigh and Chapel Hill. Talk about feel like you're in the upside down. The big question is, how do you get back to normal? How do you bounce back if you are the NC State defense after Clemson just boat raced you 28-0 at the end of the first quarter? How do you get back to normal if you're UNC's defense and you just gave up 70 to a group of 5 team? And more importantly, how do you not allow that game to be a turning point? We talk a lot about turning points positively, right? Andy Dalton shows up, and all of a sudden, this could be a turning point.
Major turning point.
Well, the thing we don't talk about as often is turning points can happen negatively, too. You can be UNC 6-0 and going towards being a nationally ranked team and talking about ACC, and then all of a sudden there's a turning point in the opposite direction, and your season could fall apart. How does NC State and UNC not only do everything they can to make sure they're better this weekend, but how do they do everything they can to make sure this isn't a turning point where the defense starts pointing fingers, where the offense maybe starts pointing fingers at the defense? The stakes are high this week for UNC and NC State. Make sure it isn't the moment where you look back and say, that's where the wheels fell off. If to bring it all the way back down to like a analogy, very like one game. Make sure that game that you gave up near 60 to Clemson isn't the pick 6 that Grayson McCall threw against Tennessee, where it's like, all right, it's not perfect, but you're in it. It's not perfect, but you're in it. It's not perfect. Ooh, now you're down by 40. Make sure those losses isn't that. Those are brutal losses, and you can't sugarcoat it, which is part of the problem. Listen, I work in sports media. We see every spin zone possible. You can watch it. Well, actually, that loss was a good loss because I'm seeing some saying that the Chicago Bears not having a running game like at all through the first couple of games, It's a positive because now they know DeAndre Swift isn't the guy, and they can turn it over to Roschon Johnson, their backup running back. Spin zone. There's really no way to spin zone the 2 losses we watched over the weekend. You need to change something. But at the same time, you can't change everything. Do you flush it? Do you do the whole, we're not going to watch the film that we talk about, where you're going to go burn the film and try to just move on without really addressing it? Or do you harp on it and make it motivation? Do you put the final score, 70, in every defensive player's locker room so they're every day before they go to practice, they know what they're working against? Right now, and I would say like Wednesdays are, I talk about Wednesdays a lot. Wednesdays are very internal on a football team. This is where your coach has to know your team. I talk about one of my favorite sayings. It's one of the best ways that I understand coaching at all levels, and it was told to me by one of my assistant coaches in college. It was the bear and the hare. The bear and the hare. I'm going to explain it for you real quick. I may have done this before, but for those of you that haven't heard it, everyone in this example, every player on the team is a fox. Some are motivated by the bear chasing it. Some are motivated by the hare, the rabbit, they are chasing, right? So bear or the hare means some players you need to motivate with fear. And what does that mean? Well, if they make a mistake on the field, you throw your headset, you get in their face, you scream at them, you motivate them because they're somebody that can take hard coaching. Then there's somebody that's motivated by the hare. Right? They don't need the bear chasing them. What that means is they make a mistake, you put your arm around them, you say, it's all right, you're going to do better. And then when they make a good play, oh, goodness, you throw your headset up in celebration. You do a chest bump with them. You praise them, and they will chase that feeling forever. The bear or the hare. Well, guess what, Dave Doran? You better be right when you're ruling with fear. Because if you listen to his media comments earlier this week, what did he say? Every position on the defense is being considered. Every single one. Every job is being considered, which means none of your jobs are safe. Dave Doran, we have the audio for you saying just that.
On defense, yeah, every position group. I mean, it's a team game. They all got to play better. It always starts up front, the defensive line getting knocked back and when they're on the edge, being on the edge where they're supposed to be. Linebackers need to communicate better to the front. I thought we tackled really poorly at different positions throughout the game. Can definitely play better at strong safety and nickel. There's a lot of competition that's going to be on that defensive field this week. A lot.
That to me is motivating with the bear.
Oh. You never feel good when your position that you play gets called out. Like, oh, strong safety. Wait, I play strong safety. Wait,
yeah, we need to be
coach,
better
I play
on the
nickel.
way.
I'm a defensive line. Oh, no.
That's ruling with fear. You better be right. You better know your team. Your strong safeties better be the type of people that hear their name called out in the media and don't go, man, forget this coach. They got to be the type of people that hear their name in the media and go, I'm going in early tomorrow because coach isn't going to say that about me again. You could lead with the love. You could lead with the people that are motivated by the hare, right? Hey, guys, that wasn't us. I know you're better than that. That's an aberration. Let's kick it. Let's move on and focus on being better in the future. There's no one way about this, which is not a good sports radio. Normally you just yell and scream about this is how. No. Every team is different. Every player is different. And unfortunately, if you play a game, and every game somebody's going to have a bad – I don't care. Like somebody on Clemson had a bad game. Somebody on James Madison had a bad game. A lot of people on their defense, actually. But somebody on James Madison's offense had a bad game. So James Madison, they just got to figure out how to motivate that guy. UNC has to make a bunch of decisions. All right, how do we motivate this end? How do we motivate this defensive tackle? How do we motivate his backup? How do we motivate the linebackers? How do we motivate the safety? All the way through. And matter of fact, Dave Doran did give someone some praise. It was Shirley, the backup defensive lineman. I think his last name was Shirley. And the reason why I bring that up is because Dave Doran said, oh, he's a guy that played well. Isaiah Shirley is his name. According to Corey Smith of Pack Pride, tweeted this out 2 days ago. Dave Doran mentions Isaiah Shirley as a late standout that will get some more playing time as a result. That's some love there. It's not just scheme and X's and O's. It's not. Coaching has never been just that. The motivation element comes into play. And sometimes when you get your tail kicked, the way that both of those teams, particularly on defense, got their tail kicked over the weekend, it's 100% about the mental side. To go full Yogi Berra, it's probably 90% the mental side. The other half's physical. So you still have to fix the scheme. Don't get me wrong. There are flaws there. But this stakes, these high stakes for this upcoming weekend for both teams, I think have a lot to do with the aura of these teams as much as they do the ability to play football. You better figure out what is the best course of action to get your team back in the right headspace, because I've seen two teams that were not in the right headspace on Saturday. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. Speaking of what they might be able to learn something from, right? Smart person learns from their own mistakes. Wise person learns from the mistakes of others. They could look at the Panthers and say, how the heck did they get out of an ugly week 1 and an ugly week 2 into a beautiful week 3? The Panthers, have they changed your expectations based on that one game in week 3? Do you now think they're destined for the moon and the stars? Stick around. Panthers talk coming up next.
Evan, Canty, and Michelle are unsportsmanlike.
Any win early in the season for the Jets is consequential. Think about what a hot mess they were last year. This is them proving to themselves that they can get it together, that they can be a functional franchise, that they can be a functional offense and have a functional quarterback. We have not seen this from the New York Jets in a long time.
Unsportsmanlike.
Mornings from 6 to 9 on 99.9 The Fan, the Triangle Sports Leader.
Hey Raleigh homeowners, this is Keith Gregory, Vice President with Baker Home Exteriors, but more importantly, a homeowner like you. I invite you to join the thousands who have trusted us to service and upgrade their homes. We treat every home as the sanctuary it is, transforming and preserving homes with roofing, siding, doors, decks, and window services for over a century. Trust our expert team for professional installation. Visit bakerroofing.com and schedule a time with our team.
It's truck season at John Heister Chevrolet, and boy, have we got a deal for you. Right now, you can get that 24 Silverado 1500 LTZ you've been wanting, or up to $14,000 off when you trade in a 2010 or newer car or light-duty vehicle, including 3/4 and 1-ton pickups and vans. Up to $14,000 off a brand new 24 Silverado 1500 LTZ. See dealer for details. Get off your keister and get to John Heister Chevrolet in Fuquay Varina. Together, let's drive.
Hey friends, Paul Weihander here for 99.9 The Fan for FanDuel. NFL Week 4 is here, and you can start with a chance for a big win on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you're new to FanDuel, you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Think about a quick single-game parlay for the Thursday night football game. Dallas at the New York Giants. CeeDee Lamb over receiving yards. Devin Singletary over rushing yards. And Dak Prescott with the over on passing yards. Just visit FanDuel.com/Paul, Paul, and make every moment more this season. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 plus and present in North Carolina. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov.
The new bonus edition Buck Scratch-Off's got a first-ever bonus game in the Outback.
You mean on the back, not Outback.
What's on the back?
The bonus game.
Then what's on the front?
Prizes up to $1 million.
I thought the game was called Bucks.
It is. Just forget it.
Crikey, mate. Don't go telling people to forget it. The whole point is for them to be remembering it.
The all-new bonus edition Bucks Scratch-Offs from the North Carolina Education Lottery. Must be 18 to play. Approximate overall odds of winning are 1 in 3.81 to 4.75. Problem gambling helpline 877-718-5543.
Tommy! I can't wait for golf this weekend, huh, buddy? Time flies. Love you, man. Oh, don't forget your knee brace again. We aren't in college anymore.
Moments together matter, so help protect yourself from RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV, and there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Here's the snap. Pocket holds. Andy throwing downfield. Thielen! Did he hang on? Touchdown!
So much for going for the field goal, right?
The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. We're going to play the heck out of those highlights coming out of breaks, right? Week 3 was great, and it should be enjoyed. How much do your expectations change, though? Like, coming out of that game, are you now suddenly disappointed if the Panthers don't make the playoffs?
Super Bowl or bust, let's go, right?
We did have a caller use the word Super Bowl during Monday Sound Off.
We did. That is a fact.
I'm seeing some already like Andy Dalton is the guy, maybe the guy for next year. After one game, I'm already – you can bet, like now you can take your time finding your quarterback because we have Andy Dalton locked and loaded for the next 2 years. One game. Realistically, how much does one game change? Realistically, one game against Vegas, who Vegas showed some signs of life. Don't get me wrong. They beat the Ravens. They've done some things, but let's not pretend like coming into the year you looked at Vegas's roster and went, "Hoo boy, look at this." Antonio Pierce already had to come out this week and say Minshew is still the starter. And I don't know how many teams that are that good that after 3 weeks are already having to do the "we're showing faith in our guy" quarterback competitions. Realistically, how much does that game change? I'm not talking about your disposition. Be more happy. If it went from 0 to 100 as far as how much you're enjoying football as a Panther fan, that's fine. Right? The despair or hope that you feel at a tailgate before a game, if you went from 0 to 100, that's fine. But I'm talking about the realistic setting of expectations, right? Because too high expectations, they're the thief of joy. If you go into a season with, if the Panthers don't win 12 games and make the playoffs, I'm going to be distraught, you're signing yourself up to be distraught. Realistically, how much does one game change? Listen, week 3 basically for me just negated weeks 1 and 2. Because I had this team preseason as a 5 or 6 win team. The number was set at 5.5 by most sports books. Some you saw at 4.5. And I said, yeah, that's a pretty good number.
I said 6.
Yeah, it's a pretty good number. I mean, we can't pick 5.5. That would have been lovely. So 5 or 6, if you're anywhere in that range, if you were the most optimistic fan and you said 7, I wouldn't have faulted you for it. If you were the most pessimistic fan, you said 3 or 4, I wouldn't have faulted you for it. 5 or 6, I believe, was the sweet spot in the preseason. After games 1 and 2, which, 1 and 2 were equally as bad as week 3 was good. After games 1 and 2, I thought this was a first overall pick team. I was telling Panther fans, you might want to start clearing your Saturdays and watching a quarterback each week. I want to catch Georgia and Carson Beck this week. I want to watch Shedeur Sanders that week, Quinn Ewers this week. Because I thought you were going to have the number 1, maybe number 2 overall pick, and you'd be shopping in the quarterback aisle again. So now after week 3, in which Andy Dalton goes in there, provides the spark, in which Deontay Johnson has his best career game as a receiver, yardage-wise, when Chuba Hubbard looks like the running back he was under Steve Wilkes. Now I think you're back to a 5 or 6 win team, which I get is frustrating. I completely understand it's frustrating. But it's right where you started. And guess what? Last year, I went back and looked at the standings. Last year, 5 or 6 wins gets you the 5th or 6th pick. You're the 5th or 6th worst team in the NFL. which is a massive jump. It is a more than doubling of your win total from last year. It is an improvement in the roster. It is something to build on for Dave Canales. It is overall pretty darn good. But don't get, Dennis puts out these videos of Panthers fans drinking the Kool-Aid. Don't drink the Panthers Kool-Aid so much that you set yourself up to be recklessly sad if they go on a 3-game losing streak. Here's the other thing that I think it does to change your expectations. Right? Realistically, changes your expectations in this way. I think you can expect not to be embarrassed. And that may sound like a small thing, but there were points in time last year, if you lost by 2 or 3 scores, if you were not competitive in the entire game, it almost felt like that's what you should have expected. Like, oh, you're surprised by that? The better team beat you by a bunch? Oh, you're surprised? Like, what did you expect? We have a year and more of expectations of the better teams beat you by a bunch. So now I think that goes away. I think you're allowed to be livid if you lose by 20. And allowed is the wrong word. Like you're like going to punish you. I don't mean
permission.
Allowed.
You have permission to be upset.
I mean, like, you can realistically, the expectations are fair that if you get smoked after seeing what they put on the field in week 3, if you get smoked, fury is an appropriate response, a proportional response. Which, I mean, I just want to remind everybody where things started. I want to remind everybody where you were last year. I don't want to make a 33-7 lead in the fourth quarter in week 3 operate as a fence, big privacy fence that keeps you from looking at what was in the recent past. Because the other thing that it would allow you to do is you're playing the Bengals this week. Now, imagine week 3 was as bad as weeks 1 and 2. Imagine Dave Canales didn't change the quarterback. Imagine Dave Canales kept Bryce Young in there, and the same snowball of filth and anger kept growing. And then you're playing the Bengals in week 4, and you lost by 7. There would be a decent amount of smiles. There would be a decent amount of, hey, that wasn't that bad. Hey, you know what? They showed signs. They were in it in the 4th. What if you just led in the 4th and then Joe Burrow led a game-winning 2-minute drill? You'd be like, hey, that stunk. That stung.
We were right there.
But we were right there. We can build off of that. Like, don't rob yourself of that either. And I'm not saying be happy if they lose. I'm saying if you win by 1, hey, you win by 1. That's as much of a celebration as winning by 30. Because the Andy Dalton, awesome. Looked like, the Peyton Brady out there on like a combination of all your favorite quarterbacks. He looked great. Accuracy, processing, everything. Really enjoy it. I don't think that's the new bar for how well Andy Dalton is going to play. Unless he is unlike anything we have ever seen in NFL football, right? It's the guy that suddenly becomes the MVP at age 36, 37 after sitting a few years, it doesn't really happen like that.
Maybe he's this year's Joe Flacco.
From last year.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe. Joe Flacco had a nice little run.
Exactly.
Joe Flacco had a nice little run. I think that's like the top. That's the pipe dream. That's the fever dream. Right? I actually know it. The real fever dream is probably like Rich Gannon with the Raiders. But even that was 33, 34 he took over and then, won an MVP the second year that he took over. This is 4 years in the future even for that. Joe Flacco, what did he give us? Like 8 or 9 great, pretty good games last year?
Yeah.
You get 8 or 9 pretty good games out of Andy Dalton from this point forward, and then, whatever the math ends up being on that, 5 or 6, replacement level games, I think I'd take that to the bank right now. I just don't know. I don't know if that's how the expectations are actually going with the Panthers right now. I think some are starting to build the red rifle statue outside, and this is what saves everything. They're still a team that was dead last in the NFL last year. They're still a team that 6 wins is a tripling of their wins last year. Still a team that if they're not drafting in the top 10 is awesome. You borderline have a parade for that.
Hey, only one game out of first.
Only one game out of, but I know you're saying that a little tongue in cheek, or are you like,
only one game out of first. This isn't the college football playoffs. Style points do not matter.
But now, if you're suddenly expecting to win the division,
I'm not.
Exactly. Then it's like one game out of first is great. I actually like that, right? You're in the mix. Your division isn't the best anymore. They were playing really good early on. Week 3, the entire division came back down to earth, other than the Panthers. Fair. If you think now all of a sudden is the time to start going, Dave Canales should, look at it. He really should win the darn division.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to look at you and go, there's a good chance you're going to be very disappointed. You want to set yourself up for that? Go right ahead, but don't say I didn't warn you. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. You know what we really should do?
What's that?
We should take the first preseason game of the Carolina Hurricanes and say Jackson Blake, rookie, had a game-winning assist. And say, well, it's the best player we've ever seen.
Stud.
He's going to have a game-winning assist in every one-goal game from now until forever because he did it in the Keep expectations low, but we react to the preseason opener for the Carolina Hurricanes with Hurricanes and Cons coming up next.
It's bow time. It's not just football season. It's tailgate season, and that includes every kind of football, whether it's got goalkeepers or goalposts. The kick is good! Because it doesn't matter where or how you tailgate. When you've got crispy chicken and fluffy buttermilk biscuits from Bojangles, your tailgate is better than great. It's legendary. Head to Bojangles and order your tailgate box with boldly seasoned chicken, fixins, biscuits, and legendary iced tea today. It's bow time.
Planning a tailgate? Then it's bow time. Bojangles has everything you need for the perfect tailgate, no matter how many fans you're trying to feed. There's the original tailgate, the super tailgate, and for a really big crowd, the jumbo tailgate special. And if you like your chicken off the bone, choose the Supreme's tailgate special that includes 12 perfectly seasoned tenderloin fillets. So grab the tickets, get that Bojangles tailgate special, and go. It's bow time.
I'm Kamala Harris. Here's a few things I believe. Middle-class families, like the one I grew up in, they want common sense solutions. You want lower prices and lower taxes. I believe you want to just not get by, but you want to get ahead. We must create an opportunity economy where everyone has a chance to get a car loan, buy a home, start a business. And I believe we can make that happen.
Kamala Harris's plan? Bring down costs by cracking down on corporate price gougers. Make homeownership more affordable for families. A middle-class tax cut for 100 million Americans. And make sure billionaires and big corporations pay their fair share so you can keep more of the money you've earned.
And instead of being focused on the politics of the past, we need to be thinking about the future and how we make it better for families like yours. I'm Kamala Harris, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Harris for President.
At the Home Depot, we know you can't control everything, like when your guests arrive too early for Saturday college football. But you can control your grill. With the Traeger Timberline XL, you can watch the game, not the grill. Monitor your football feast from anywhere using the Traeger app. With the Timberline XL, you can bake, smoke, sear, fry, and saute. That's Desmond Howard level versatility.
Huddle up, the food's done.
Defend your game time with Traeger and the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
99.9 The Fan and Coastal Credit Union are proud to announce the return of the Coastal Credit Union Scholar Athlete of the Month. For more than 20 years, we have honored over 200 student athletes that are making a difference on their team and in their community. If you are a teacher, parent, coach, or guardian, nominate your Scholar Athlete today. We will select one winner a month to be featured on 99.9 The Fan and on WRAL News Plus. To nominate a winner, text AWARD to 919-860-5326. That's AWARD to 919-860-5326.
Congrats to last year's winners. Emma Penkunas of Holly Springs High School, Connor O'Toole of Athens Drive, Kenzie Smith of Fuquay Varina, Patience Ifadon of South Garner High, Carrie Ellen Bryan of Southern Lee, Carson Parker, Apex Friendship, Jason Howard of Wakefield High School, and Eric Stoll of Green Level. We also want to thank all of our other local schools who nominated a student: Apex Friendship, Jordan Matthews, Northwood, Green Hope High, Willow Springs, Jacksonville High, South Granville, Cleveland High, Riverside, and South Johnston.
This is Creighton Blackwell with Coastal Credit Union, and I would like to offer my sincerest thanks to every school that nominated a student for this year's award. This award is more than a celebration of exceptional athletes. It's also a celebration of the schools and the communities that helped them grow into the incredible leaders that we like to celebrate.
Congratulations to all of our Coastal Credit Union Scholar Athletes of the Month. If you want to nominate a high school athlete, text award to 919-860-5326.
Train heating and cooling systems are engineered to keep up with you. We run together. Visit traininfo.com to find your local independent train dealer. It's hard to stop a train.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. Is this the Club Lenovo music?
Oh, yes.
Club Lenovo, Lenovo Center, Hurricanes. Preseason game 1 last night. They did win. We'll talk about it in a second. But first, this is the season debut of one of our kind of spin-offs of Cons and Cons. We do Cons and Cons for the Panthers, which is pretty simply, what are you most confident in? What are you most concerned about for the Carolina Panthers? We also do Hurricanes and Cons, which is the spin-off edition, which is what are you most confident in? What are you most concerned about at that particular moment for the Hurricanes? You guessed it. So with the actual on-ice portion of preseason now officially underway as of last night, we thought we'd debut for the season the Hurricanes and Cons, which is what we are most confident and concerned about for the Carolina Hurricanes. Both Dennis and I give you our answers. If you want to contribute, feel free. You can do so in our YouTube live stream comments. That's one way to reach us. You can also tweet it at us at Donnelly Sports. That's for me, or at the Fan Rookie for Dennis. We're just looking for Cons and Cons. As always, when someone says, hey, I have good news and bad news, which do you want first? You go right to give me the bad news. And concerns. We'll start with the concerns. Here's my concern for the Carolina Hurricanes going into the season, going into the preseason. It's the second line. It's something that's throughout the offseason as you've made these moves. I think, Pesci and Shea leave. I think you've replenished the defensive reserves pretty well as putting in a more prominent position Orlov and Chatfield. I'm cool with that. The back end of the forwards, obviously the third line, quote-unquote third line, the stall line, that's going to be what it's going to be. It's kind of in its own category. Then the fourth line, I think there's enough young and exciting prospects that I think you'll do some good things there. It's that second line that I'm worried about. Right? I think it's penciled in right now as kind of Roslovic, Kotkaniemi at center, and then Natchez.
Yeah, we've seen that at practice so far. I think even today, Roslovic was up there with Aho and Jarvis.
If they mix it up, obviously, then I reserve the right to change my opinion. But with those kind of being the penciled-in three, I'm looking at it going, well, Kotkaniemi and Natchez are going to have to take a big step up, and Roslovic, we don't really know what's going to happen yet as one of the new guys. Mm-hmm. That's just a lot of question marks for a line that you want to be very, very confident in if you're going to be a legit contender, if you're going to be, aiming for the things that that Hurricanes have become used to aiming for over the last half decade. I think that second line is going to be something that concerns me until Kotkaniemi, Natchez, or a lineup shuffle gives me reasons to say, oh, no, they're good. What's your concern, Dennis?
Same thing, scoring depth. We know what Aho can do. We know what Seth Jarvis is capable of doing. We have seen moments in time of Andrei Svechnikov being an elite-level player in the NHL. We've seen moments of time and a lot of flashes of the skill of Martin Natchez. Can those guys live up to that, and actually be what they're supposed to be? I mean, especially looking at Andrei Svechnikov. You were healthy this offseason. You didn't have to rehab from an injury. You're healthy this offseason. You actually had a chance to train and be ready to go this year. Martin Natchez, you want to prove what you're capable of doing? You even said it yourself. You want to earn more trust? this is on you. But after that top group of guys, the scoring depth is lacking. It really is. In terms of, now, does Jack Drury pump in 15 goals this season? I mean, you're not going to say no to it, but I don't think you're expecting a whole lot from Stahl, Martinook, and Carrier either in terms of goal production.
Yes.
So, yeah, in terms of goal production from your top two lines, especially after that top one, it gets a little thin.
My confidence is going to be funny based on our two answers.
What's that?
The top line.
Yeah.
Jarvis, Aho, Svech. Like, if that's what they start with, I'm extremely confident in that line. I do think they will eventually split it up because of the concerns we both had. I think you need to divide some of that up. But if you tell that group, you're all relatively young, you're all in pretty darn good shape, you're all pretty darn highly paid, you're going to play big minutes, your shifts are going to be longer, and I want you to be greedy and go score goals, I think that could be a really fun thing for us to watch. Hey, you're not going to get a ton of scoring output from the Stahl line. You're not going to get a lot of scoring output from the second line, at least until Kokaniemi and Necha show us that they've stepped up. And the fourth line, you get what you get because it's the fourth line. Be aggressive. If you see an angle, take it. Even if it's not the best angle, take the shot. You three are going to be the ones we need to pour in goals. I don't know if it's the best for wins, but I think it'd be wildly entertaining. It would be, no. I don't want to go get a beer right now because the first line is on the ice and they're always doing something crazy. That's what I'm looking for. So I'm confident in that group. What do you have, Dennis?
I'm confident in the overall team speed. I think this is something that we actually, at least I've seen go into a few practices, and we saw a little bit yesterday. Eric Robinson, big body guy, 6'2", 200. Fast skater. Brendan Lemieux, Mike Maniscalco pointed it out last night. Looked like he had a little bit of an extra step to him. Tyson Jost got some good speed. We already know what guys like Aho and others can do. Martin Necas, to me, actually looks a little faster from what I see him skating around. Same with Kokaniemi. These guys look a little faster. And we know on the back end, Shane Gostisbehere can skate well, as can Sean Walker. We already know what Orlov and the other guys can do as well, especially Jalen Chatfield. I think the overall team speed has gone up. They're just faster, which is going to allow them to transition from defense to offense faster and create more chances off the rush. But they didn't lose any of the physicality because Brendan Lemieux is a bulldog. On the Dan Morgan dogometer, on the dog scale, that dude's all bulldog is what he is. But we also, Eric Robinson can play a physical heavy game as well, but he can also skate really fast. I don't think they lose any of the physicality, but their speed also ticked up a little bit.
I like that. I agree with that. And I think it adds to everything getting younger. Right, they held on last year. A lot of the kind of old guard, they kept them around. They gave them one last run. It didn't work out. Now you shuffle in some youth, and you get faster. Usually when that happens, you see it in every sport. So I like that. So there's cons and cons. Let's focus in on last night a little bit. Preseason game 1 on the road at Tampa for the Canes. Normal, everything happened fine. Yesterday I said with Dmitry Orlov playing, he's a 33-year-old, 10-plus year veteran of the NHL. I literally said on air, as long as you stay healthy, I don't care how you play. You're proven, you're there. Just, practice your pregame routine and go out there. He played a bunch of minutes, nothing of note. I'm fine with it.
No news is good news.
Kochetkov looked sharp enough. Great. Way to go. Have fun. The young guys, I don't know, got some jitters out. There's I wish we had 15 minutes of Canes content for you. There's just not.
And that's okay.
Which is not I'm not even saying that as a negative thing. I'm saying that as a negative thing as a content creator. I'm not saying that as a negative thing of a fan of the Canes. It's the first preseason game. You played a bunch of young guys, and at times they look like young guys, and everybody left, from what I've heard and what I've seen reported, healthy.
That's all you can ask for.
Let's move on. The other thing that happened last night, in addition to preseason game 1 for the Canes, is ACC basketball schedule release. So we're not just going to sit here and read the schedules for you. That's what Google's for. But I have my top 5 games from the schedule release.
We can circle the calendar.
We can definitely
circle that calendar.
Start passing around to your friends. These days I'm unavailable. If you schedule a get together, I'm not going to be there.
This is where you know, hey, I'm buying tickets for this game.
So I have 5. I'm going to say my 5. Dennis, then you tell me what I missed, because
got it.
The one thing that I know, looking at all these, is 5 is an unfair number. We set it for ourselves. We could have done the top 15. We set 5.
You could have done as many as you want.
And then as I was trying to, it became a fun exercise of figuring them out. And I did cheat a little bit. First one, NC State versus Purdue. It is in San Diego, November 28th. So it's one of those kind of early season event games. Purdue is 16th in the ESPN Way Too Early Top 25, despite not having Zach Edey, who's playing in the NBA, which means they're going to look different, but they're still seen as very, very good. Here's the part that I'm excited about. NC State is still riding high from last season. They're going to look extremely different than they did a season ago. DJ's gone. Mo Diarra gone. Like, we could go through them all. They're going to look very different. But we won't really know if they're building off of last year or taking big step backs from that run until this Purdue game. Here are the games before Purdue on November 28th. South Carolina Upstate.
Yep.
Presbyterian. Coastal Carolina. Colgate. And William and Mary. And then you go to San Diego and play Purdue. So that Purdue game very much is like all right, let's see what you got.
A Final Four rematch.
And it's the Final Four rematch, which just adds to the maybe a little bit of a sting, right? A little bit extra sandpaper in that game. So that's my first game.
Okay.
Or number 5, I guess. Number 4 is another rematch. NC State at Duke, January 27th. It's a rematch of both the ACC champion or ACC tournament game and the Elite Eight, in which NC State won both. The reason this one's not higher, because it's 2 triangle teams with an ultimate rematch feel, is because the teams are so different. Duke has 2 guys coming back from that team. Do you think they're really outside of Proctor and Foster, there's nobody that's like, we got to get them back for last year? It's just like, hey, you 2 guys lost to them, right?
Hey, John Shire knows.
John Shire does know. Obviously, a bunch of the staff knows. Fans know, which is why it's on the list. It's just not maybe, at the top. Next up, Alabama at UNC, December 4th.
Part of the ACC SEC Challenge.
Alabama's number 2 in the ESPN Way Too Early Top 25. They return quite a bit of talent from their Final Four team a year ago. We know what UNC's expectations are going into the season every single season, especially when you return the best shooting guard in the country, when you return a nice little core and bring in a super high recruiting class. So Alabama at UNC, and again, relatively early in the season. That's a massive game as far as just establishing the ACC as the best team in or best conference in the country. B, establishing UNC as a legit contender, and also it's kind of like a Heisman moment early on for RJ. So that's number 3. Gosh, it was so tough doing this. Here's where I started cheating. For my number 2 and number 1,
okay,
I added they're 2 games, but they're related.
Okay.
Number 2 is Duke, their schedule from November 22nd to November 26th. They play at Arizona November 22nd, and then they play Kansas in Vegas November 26th. That is, bar none, the hardest back-to-back in non-conference schedule in the entire country. Arizona right now is 9th in ESPN's Way Too Early Top 25 poll. Kansas is 1st in ESPN's Way Too Early Top 25 poll. Duke already plays an ACC schedule. They already play top-of-the-line non-conference games. They threw a random end-of-November gauntlet into their schedule to obviously make up for the Arizona game that came to Duke last year. And then they go to Vegas to play Kansas. That is, if Duke is what I think they might be, with Cooper Flagg, with some of the other young guys they're adding, with some of the transfers they're adding, that right there will be their announcement to the world that, hey, we're something serious. And then lastly, and pardon me for being a little bit cliche here, UNC at Duke February 1st and Duke at UNC March 8th. It's Duke UNC, it's UNC Duke. It's depending on where you are. It's There's a reason why, like, ESPN whatever plays those games back to back from the archives the day of the games. It's just a big deal, and it's pageantry, and it's cool, and those are my number ones.
A couple that you missed in there, obviously the NC State UNC games.
Yep, I had it in there for most of it, and then I had to it got on the cutting room floor.
You mentioned how Duke plays Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
UNC goes on the road at Kansas later on. It's actually early part of the season. UNC is there. I think UNC is there on.
That is 100% why I added the Arizona game to the Duke game to make it a combo, because I went, they're both playing Kansas. Like, how do I decide which is the better gonna play the number one team in most preseason rankings game? So I just looked around the schedule and went, oh, Duke's playing Arizona 4 days before. So I that was the tiebreaker there. Again, it's 5 is too few.
Yeah. So NC State plays there on December 14th, but in November, on November 8th, UNC is also at Allen Fieldhouse. So UNC is there November 8th. NC State's there in December, which I think is really cool when you get the blue blood and high-profile brands of college basketball playing on campus. Like, I understand that Duke and Kansas are playing each other like at a neutral site. I like when these games are held on a college campus in these arenas.
And the same thing for Duke going to Arizona. They're going to Arizona.
And I think that's great for the sport.
That home and home is exactly what you're saying. So at Kansas, and I agree with that. Playing in home arenas, I know coaches don't like doing it. They like the neutral. It gives them NCAA tournament experience, playing a big team on a neutral court, because that's what you're going to have to do in the big dance. But there is just something special about college basketball in a home gym with the student section and everything else going on. They have the big cutouts of like Dick Vitale's head behind the free throw lines. It is cool. Anything else I miss?
No, I mean, pretty much spot on that one.
There are. I mean, we could list 30 if we needed to. It's college basketball in the Triangle in North Carolina. Like, duh.
It's going to be pretty cool.
It is. It's going to be a great season. And now that we have the schedules, we can update our calendars. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. From one of the coolest things in college sports, the pageantry of conference basketball or ACC conference basketball and the big games and the rivalries, to one of the newly stinky parts of college sports. UNLV quarterback Matthew Sluka just decided he was done playing football this year for UNLV, which on the surface might be like, oh, who cares? It's UNLV. They were undefeated. They're knocking on the door of the top 30 in some RPI rankings and things.
I think they just hit ranked 25th, first time ever in program history.
They were they're one of the picks to get that 12th spot in the college football playoff as the highest ranked Group of 5 conference champion if they win their conference. And Matthew Sluka just bailed. I'm framing this in a way that I shouldn't. Bailing might not even be the right word. And there's actually a few ways that the NC State program impacts this. One, everybody remembers MJ Morris from last year making a very similar decision midseason to preserve a red shirt and eventually transfer. Two, Michael Allen, the running back who played for NC State and transferred to UNLV, just about 25 minutes ago, tweeted out, after 3 games, I've decided to utilize my red shirt and enter the portal at the end of the season as a redshirt junior. I'm grateful for UNLV and wish them nothing but success. Expectations for opportunities, unfortunately, were not met, and I am excited to continue my football career. That's the NC State running back that transferred to UNLV. Rumors are swirling about why Sluka is redshirting, and one of them is, I think, playing into that line from Michael Allen that says expectations for opportunities, unfortunately, were not met. There's kind of 3 camps. There's a lot of he said, she said going on with Matthew Sluka. One is an expectation from fans and some rumors out there on message boards that another school offered him a big old bag of money to preserve his red shirt and then transfer this offseason. I don't know how founded that is, but it's a rumor online. There's another one that says UNLV fulfilled all NIL promises to Sluka, and then when Sluka played well and the team started hot, he then went in and demanded more money. UNLV said no, so Sluka is now preserving his red shirt. Then there's this other camp, which Sluka is selling. His agent, his father have both spoken publicly, which is he was promised a certain amount of money, around $100,000, to play for UNLV. And when he showed up, they gave him $3,000 in relocation expenses and then did not give him anything else.
I saw that he was apparently also just giving him $3,000 a month on top of that.
Here's
according to Front Office Sports, an article I read.
Okay, and that's fair, and that's part of it is there's a billion different reporters and there's slightly different stories everywhere.
But I've three grand a month is a far cry from the $100,000 promised.
Very true. Bob Sluka talked to ESPN, and I saw this from Adam Rittenberg, the writer.
This is the dad?
This is the father of UNLV quarterback Matthew Sluka, that his son's agents agreed to an NIL deal with the school back in February when he transferred from Holy Cross to UNLV, and he never received payments despite requests and never asked for any adjustments to the original deal. Bob Sluka said, "We have no idea what the hell happened." Continuing, Sluka told Adam Rittenberg that when Matt reported to UNLV, he was told his NIL deal would be distributed via a payment plan. He said, okay. Then he was told to wait until classes started. Then he said, okay. Then he was told to wait until the game started. He said, okay. Then during a September 19th call, Matt's agent was told UNLV would not be paying anything other than $3,000 relocations costs. To clarify, this according to Rittenberg, the September 19th call involved his agent, Marcus Cromartie, the UNLV head coach, Barry Odom, and another UNLV support staff member, according to Bob Sluka. Essentially, the decision to not pay him the money promised sent the exit in motion. One more thing here from Bob Sluka before we get into the kind of opinion portion. Sluka was quoted to ESPN saying, "We're a hardworking family. To be able to have an athlete like Matt, we don't even really care that much about the money, but there is a principle to it. He's not the first athlete to have this happen." End of quote. That's where the Michael Allen comes in. You start to have a lot of players stop playing because they're not getting what they were promised. It starts to look worse on the program. Here's the issue. This is the wild, wild west. I saw this comparison online. I don't know if it's the best, but it does make a little bit of sense. It's like a drug deal. You promised you were going to give me X amount of dollars for this, and you're not giving me X amount of dollars. Who do you complain to? Do you run to the police and say, hey, these people aren't giving me my money on the drugs I gave them? You can't do that. Who does Matthew Sluka go to if a program is just blatantly operating in bad faith? If they are promising you $100,000 to come play and you say, okay, and then you show up and they say, oh, by the way, you're not getting any money, but play this year for us, make me look good.
And he's on his final year of eligibility. He can redshirt this year and play one more year. That's it.
I am so torn by this because part of me says never quit on your team.
Mm-hmm.
Finish the season. You started it. You got something building. You may have a special team here. Part of me says, well, the coaches are part of the team and they're the ones messing up. I'm stuck in two places, right? One thing, and I say this often, is sports are a business and they are always a business. And normally I'm saying that about professional sports. I'm saying like sports are a business. That's true when a team cuts a player to create cap space. That's true when a team trades a player and suddenly, even though their family has a home and schools and everything in Miami, they now have to go live in Minnesota. Sports are a business. But then sports are always a business means when a player wants to hold out for more money, it's still a business then. Sports are a business, and it's college sports now as well. Big money's involved. Imagine it happening to you. I moved across the country for a promise of $100,000. I showed up, and I got none of it. Just supposed to not hold a grudge? And for those of you saying, well, it's stupid to agree to anything, there aren't contracts in this space. Right? Like, first of all, sometimes you got to take a leap, right? I moved cross-country early in my career on a handshake deal over the phone. Got a job in radio in Nebraska, and I said, like, cool, do you want to send over the contract? And he said, oh, we're small market radio. We do things, on a handshake, and we look you in the eye. I'm like, well, we're over the phone. How are we supposed to do that? And he went, you're just going to have to trust me. And I packed my stuff up into a U-Haul, drove there. I guarantee you something would have happened if I showed up and they weren't paying me what they agreed to pay me. Imagine if Malik Murphy did this at Duke. 4-0. I'm done. Unless you pay me more money. Or unless you give me what you owe me. It's so much he say, she say. We don't really know what's going on here. But what I do know is this is college football right now. Just like it was college football when MJ Morris did it last year. And by the way, ask MJ Morris if he'd redo that decision. He's third string at Maryland now. I believe if he just sticks around at NC State, there's a good chance he's the starter.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't work out for everybody.
Too.
It doesn't work out for everybody. But you have to make decisions for yourself. And Matthew Sluka is making his decision for himself. I'll tell you right now, he's probably never going to endear himself to the UNLV faithful, but wherever he ends up next, he's going to get to play college football again and make money there.
And think for these young guys, too, is that this is his window to earn money off playing football. This guy's not going to be a pro. This guy's probably not even playing the CFL. Like his chance to earn money playing football is right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows that this is my last year where I could potentially do that. And if I don't do this year, it's never going to happen again. So if I stop playing now, I can go somewhere else next year, earn what I can off of my physical abilities to play quarterback somewhere, and then I go on to whatever it is I do with the rest of my life.
And for those of you that are saying, that's not how it was in my day, you know what else didn't happen in your day? Coaches didn't promise $100,000 and then not pay up in your day. Or if they did.
Well, they may have.
if they did, it was even more of actually, no, that was probably all upfront payments back then.
Oh, yeah.
No promises of. It was, I need a duffel bag full of cash on my driveway tomorrow morning. Put it under the pickup truck. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. We'll take a break. When we come back, football at 4. What role did Andy Dalton play for the Panthers this week? That maybe Jaycee Horn could play for the Panthers next week. Stick around.
Keep pounding. Panther Talk. Panthers Playbook. The Paw Print. Follow your Carolina Panthers all season with us.
The snap. Raiders bring a twist. Screen pass. Right side. Chuba gets a block. Has the 5. And tracks into the end zone for a Carolina touchdown.
Football's fun again.
Your home for complete Carolina Panthers coverage. 99.9 The Fan. The Triangle Sports Leader.
This year, FanDuel is giving you a chance to win big every Thursday night with FanDuel Squares. It's the same Super Bowl Squares game you have always known, probably have never won, but you're going to win now, only this is better. That's because your numbers aren't just randomly assigned. You get to pick them yourself. I always get 8s. You can pick as many as you like. You'll get to see the odds beforehand, and you can bet them live during the game. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/Adam Gold and bet on Squares. Plus, if you're new to FanDuel, you can get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you make your first $5 wager. 21 and over and present in North Carolina. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonuses issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov.
Summer is winding down and fall is fast approaching. At the Good Feet store, our arch supports are designed to make any season comfortable by fitting into your favorite seasonal shoes. Stop in your local Good Feet store today or make an appointment at goodfeet.com.
The clock is ticking. Diamonds Direct's ultimate offer is almost over. Until September 30th, you can get 5 years of 0% financing on any purchase. It's the perfect chance for worry-free shopping with no interest and monthly payments customized for you. And now open Sunday, September 29th. Take advantage of this amazing opportunity. From luxury timepieces to engagement rings and more. Don't wait. Spread your payments over 5 years with zero interest on approved credit. Only until September 30th. For details and more, visit DiamondsDirect.com.
Homeowners, listen up. The Fed has taken action, lowering rates for the first time in years, and Loan Pronto has followed suit by lowering mortgage rates big time. Hey, it's Dennis Cox for Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto just locked in a homeowner at 4.59% APR, the lowest in 2 years. Whether you got your loan last month or last year, it's time to call Loan Pronto and dump that high-rate loan. You can lock in a lower rate with virtually no paperwork and usually no appraisal. There's no limit on how many times you can refi. So get started. Even if you're in process with another lender, give Loan Pronto a call. If you act now, you can even skip your next 2 house payments. Purchase loans available as well. So call now. Get your rate quote in minutes with no hard credit pull and no upfront fees like those other guys. Call 919-381-1760 or loanpronto.com. 919-381-1760, loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, on approved credit, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
This hour of the Triangle Sports Leader is powered by Ritchie Law Firm, Raleigh's injury lawyers.
Bounces his way into the end zone. Touchdown!
Visit GotBrian.com.
That's GotBrian.com. WCMC HD1 Holly Springs. Take us with you on radio, web, app, Alexa, and YouTube. 99.9 The Fan, the Triangle Sports Leader.
I'm WRAL meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner. It is a warm and muggy afternoon. High temperatures in the mid-80s, variably cloudy, a chance of a few pop-up showers and thunderstorms. It's warm and muggy tonight, too, with a low of 70. We're back to 83 for tomorrow. Mostly cloudy. Again, a few pop-up showers and thunderstorms.
Weather update brought to you by Newcomb & Company, where your comfort is their business. Visit newcombandcompany.com. 4 o'clock check of your money. Dow Jones is down 293 points to 41,914.
Let's move the chains. Time for football at 4.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. Football at 4. Andy Dalton is the man of the hour for the Panthers. Why is that?
Build the statues.
Build the statues. And they better be like bronze so you can get the right hair color. Copper might be the better way. Andy Dalton is the man of the hour for the Panthers. Why is that? You could answer that question one of 2 ways. One is you could answer it with like the nuts and bolts. Because he completed X amount of percent of his passes, because he threw for 300-plus yards and 3 touchdowns, and they won the game. I'd buy that. If that was your answer just now, thumbs up to you.
As some people probably think right now, he's not Bryce Young.
That's, I guess, option number 3.
Yeah.
It's just, he's not Bryce Young is a potential answer. There's also this other thing, which is he provided a spark. Right? He provided a spark. Every team, when the momentum is going against you, you need somebody to make the play that gets the momentum in your direction. And quite honestly, that's why you pay your best players. Right? You pay Steph Curry so that when the other team scores 8 straight points, when they hit 2 threes and go to the free throw line and knock down two free throws, Steph Curry makes the 3 that stops the bleeding. That's why you pay your best players. Patrick Mahomes, when you get down 14-0, what does Patrick Mahomes almost always do? Big play or a 12-play drive that ends with like a left-handed touchdown pass as 2 guys are trying to drag him to the ground. It's just he constantly finds a way to turn the tides in your direction. From a bigger standpoint, you need that within a season. That's what Andy Dalton did. Andy Dalton showed up in that first drive. From the first completion to Adam Thielen to the last completion to Chuba Hubbard and everything in between, provided a spark. Andy Dalton won't be that guy every week. Matter of fact, sometimes he's going to be the guy, and this is not an insult to Andy Dalton, sometimes he's going to be the guy that provides the reason why you need a spark. He might have an early turnover. He might go 3 and out twice, and somebody is going to have to make a play. The good teams have a whole bunch of guys that can do it. Again, we'll use the Chiefs as an example. Chris Jones might get a strip sack, right? Who's their Snead might get an interception. Kelsey, not this year, but in previous years, might make one of those crazy plays where he catches it and then weaves through the entire defense looking like he's striding it out. For the Panthers, I think Jaycee Horn still has to be that guy on defense. And this week is an opportunity for him to go, appreciate it, Andy. I got you this time. Jamar Chase is coming to town next week. Joe Burrow is coming to town next week. T. Higgins is coming to town next week. In lesser form, Zach Moss is coming to town next week. Mike Gesicki is coming to town next. Oh, and probably I should have mentioned him before, both Zach Moss and Gesicki. Andre Yoshivas is coming to town next week. 3 touchdown receptions in the last 2 games for the Bengals. Jaycee Horn has an opportunity to prove he can be that dude. He can provide that spark. He's the one that, if things start going in the opposite direction, can make the interception. Maybe my favorite example of this, and it's not even the same sport, and it's somebody that is polarizing, but I think this is what makes him great. Derek Jeter. All right, there's the advanced analytics apparently don't love Jeter. They don't love the number 2, Derek Jeter. It's like, it turns out he won Gold Gloves in years where, like, the advanced analytics say he was a well below average defender. It's just, it was the legend. You know how he built that legend? When the Yankees absolutely needed a play, he made a play. Was it over dramatic sometimes? Sure. Did he take like 4 extra steps before diving in the stands on that one play where he came up bloody? Yeah. Is he a good enough athlete that he probably could have slammed on the brakes and not dove into the stands at all? Sure. But he made those plays when they needed him. I was at the last Derek Jeter game in Camden Yards. Took my grandfather, who was a diehard Yankees fan. We went to Camden Yards. We saw the last game. Jeter was Jeter. Big hit, end of the game, did the whole thing. Everybody was excited. I've said this about Sidney Crosby, right? Sidney Crosby it feels like everybody, if you've seen Sidney Crosby play once, you've seen him do something cool. If you've seen him play 3 times, you saw him do a couple cool things, but it does, every time someone's like, I'm seeing Sidney for the first time, it's like, well, he's going to score 2 goals. He might not win the game. Penguins haven't always been the best, but he's going to do something cool. When you need a play, who on the Panthers makes it? For 1 week, it was undoubtedly Andy Dalton. When they absolutely needed a play, he found Tremble on the seam. When they absolutely needed a play before half, he threw a darn near perfect ball to Adam Thielen in the end zone. When they absolutely needed a play, he was there to make it. How many people other than Andy Dalton on that roster do you think have the capabilities to do that? Jaycee Horn might be number 1 on my list. Devontae Adams didn't kill the Panthers, don't get me wrong. It's not like he's been playing bad. He had 4 catches for 40 yards, but he also didn't make some catches that I think he normally makes. I don't know if they're drops, but they're kind of broken up, but he got his hands on it, and usually when Devontae Adams gets his hands on the ball, it's a catch. Jamar Chase is coming, and if Joe Burrow targets Jamar Chase early, and there's a Jaycee Horn PBU in which he gets to stand up and do the seatbelt celebration, or if he gets his hands on the ball in a tip that leads to a pick, or he gets a pick himself, that's what makes everybody go, oh yeah, last week is continuing this week. Jamar Chase doesn't have blank on me. Could Deontay Johnson do it? Maybe. But actually, I'm like, Deontay Johnson this past week, I think is peak Deontay Johnson. Make a whole bunch of catches, get open a whole bunch. Mm-hmm. It's not like the dude was making like toe-tapping one-handed catches. He was just steady Eddie, consistent, going to make 8 catches, 100 yards, touchdown that was a better throw than it was a catch. Good route, got there, throw was bananas. I don't know if you want Deontay Johnson thinking he has to be the guy to turn the tide. Because if you go back to his Pittsburgh days, there were some times where he was pressing, dropped some passes. At one point, went like a full season and 100 catches, 100 targets without scoring a touchdown. Like it's. I think what he did was what you want him to do. Chuba Hubbard. I think Chuba Hubbard's going to be the king of the 7 to 20 yard run. I don't know if he's got 65 in his toolbox.
He hasn't really shown that a whole lot, but he'll get you 9,
which is fantastic.
He'll get you 9,
which is like this is not negative, it's just calling a spade a spade.
You need 6, he got you.
I think there's Jaycee Horn on defense. Michael Jackson did a little bit of it on defense, the interception especially this past week. I think Xavier Legette has the possibilities on offense. He's a guy that, you miss a tackle on him, you let him run through an arm tackle, he might turn a 12-yard catch into a 60-yard touchdown. Haven't seen it yet at the NFL level, but we know he has it in his bag of tricks. And I'm going to keep saying this until I am blue in the face. Panthers blue in the face. I think Ja'Tavion Sanders has it. I think it's in there somewhere. It's fourth-round pick's going to take some time. But then the other thing, I'll add this, and this we just learned a couple minutes ago. This was from Quick. What is her first name? I'm blanking. Sheila Quick? It's not Sheila, is it?
Sheena Quick.
Sheena Quick.
Yes.
Apologize, Sheena. That was just an on-air brain freeze.
I'll text her.
Make sure she knows I was paying attention to her reporting. But per Dave Canales, and it came from a tweet of hers, Jonathan Brooks, DJ Wanham, Dane Jackson, and Amari Barno are in the final stages in returning to play. I think Jonathan Brooks might be one of those guys where you look at him and say, I need you to turn the game for me. Right? So use the basketball analogy one more time here. Other team scores 8 straight points. Your 4-point lead becomes a 4-point deficit. Who are you drawing the play up for? Defense, it's not always at your control, right? I guess you could like blitz your best linebacker or blitz your best safety and kind of put it on your decision. But corner, corners can only intercept passes thrown their way. But on offense, the other team has a 60-yard touchdown. You receive the kick, ball's on the 30. You feel like you need to turn the tide. Where does the Panthers offense look? It can't always just be Andy Dalton will be Tom Brady. I think Xavier Legette and Jonathan Brooks, 2 rookies, are 2 guys that might step up there. I'll throw in Ja'Tavion Sanders even if others won't because I'm very high on Ja'Tavion Sanders. 3 rookies might have to play that role. And on defense, Jaycee Horn when given the opportunity. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. Before we move on here, Tim Donnelly for Miller Lending. And, of course, that includes Gordon Miller. Emphasis on local ownership. You want to spend local, Miller Lending right here in Cary in the Triangle. And then on top of that, emphasis on the quality of what they are offering you, which is a no closing cost loan. It's something that actually many mortgage lenders are kind of experimenting with now, but the thing you want to go to is the originator, right? The home of the no closing cost loan. Gordon Miller's been doing it since 1987. Miller Lending's been doing it since they showed up in the Triangle decades ago. When you close on a mortgage with Miller Lending, that is not your forever payment. That is just your next payment. And what I mean by that is they give you that chart. Anyone that's ever bought a house knows what it is. Just a billion numbers on it, and it says, this is how much you're paying towards interest, this is how much you're paying towards equity, and this is your payment every month for the next 30 years. And it shows it, and it's like, oh my goodness. Well, guess what? The average mortgage, less than 4 years before you are buying a new house, before you are upsizing, downsizing, before you are refinancing, before you win the lottery and pay it off. Average mortgage is 4 years or less. Miller Lending's been dealing with that and emphasizing how you can benefit from that for decades and decades and decades. And with rates going up and down and kind of unpredictable recently, it's even more important to be locked into a no closing cost loan. That way you can refinance again and again and again as rates drop. The number to call, 919-447-3377. Again, you'll talk to someone right here in the Triangle, locally owned. 919-447-3377, or you can visit them online at millerlending.com. Once again, millerlending.com. Miller Lending is an equal housing lender, NMLS number 250-2146. We're going to take a break. When we come back, hit it and quit it. We line up the biggest stories in sports, knock them out of the park, and get to the next coming up.
We're kicking it this fall with college football. Join 99.9 The Fan all season long and catch your favorite teams in action. The ACC, the SEC, and every conference that matters. You'll find the best matchups here.
Jordan Moore delivers, and the Blue Devils have the lead.
College football on 99.9 The Fan is brought to you by Wilkinson Chevrolet Cadillac Buick GMC in Sanford and by Amedios.
It's bow time. It's not just football season. It's tailgate season. And that includes every kind of football, whether it's got goalkeepers or goalposts. The kick is good! Because it doesn't matter where or how you tailgate. When you've got crispy chicken and fluffy buttermilk biscuits from Bojangles, your tailgate is better than great. It's legendary. Head to Bojangles and order your tailgate box with boldly seasoned chicken, fixins, biscuits, and legendary iced tea today. It's Bo time.
Planning a tailgate? Then it's Bo time. Bojangles has everything you need for the perfect tailgate, no matter how many fans you're trying to feed. There's the original tailgate, the super tailgate, and for a really big crowd, the jumbo tailgate special. And if you like your chicken off the bone, choose the Supreme's tailgate special that includes 12 perfectly seasoned tenderloin fillets. So grab the tickets, get that Bojangles tailgate special, and go. It's Bo time.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy 2. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
Mom, meet Sarah.
From first-time Nana moments.
Welcome to Flight 101.
To annual girls trip moments. Your can't-miss moments are worth protecting against RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV. And there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com.
So where should we go next?
Sponsored by Pfizer.
North Carolina football fans, picture this. You bet on your favorite player to score the first touchdown, and he throws an awesome block so his teammate can score instead. If this happens, BetMGM wants to give you another chance at the end zone. I'm Victoria Vodnecker with BetMGM, and there is BetMGM's second chance promotion where you'll get your stake back if your first touchdown scorer scores second instead. That's right, bet on any pro football player to score the first touchdown of the game. If you're right, you win. If your player scores second, you get your stake back in cash. Everyone knows the most exciting part of football is the score. With BetMGM's second chance promotion, you have a chance to keep the fun going after the first player crosses the goal line. Try the first touchdown score bet today. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only, North Carolina only. Existing customer offer subject to eligibility requirements. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. It's a Wednesday, but it's the good part of Wednesdays. It's not a Wednesday with nothing going on. It's a Wednesday with so much to talk about. Do you know what I love about this time of year? I love that sports are just in everybody's just in your brain.
Everyone's conscious.
It's in July, like you're at the beach, you're hanging out, you're talking about life, you're talking about what you got, you can talk about the kids. Nowadays, like every group chat I'm in, there's some dumb sports debate going on. Today, and I actually brought it to the attention of Dennis. I'm in a long sports debate about if it's completely stupid hypothetical. If you were guaranteed, you're a high school quarterback, and the sports fortune teller comes and tells you, no matter where you go to college, you are going to win a Heisman and you are going to win the national championship. That's in your fate. Knowing that, what school would you go to?
So again, guaranteed to win a Heisman and a national
championship wherever you go to college.
Okay. Do I win the Natty as the starter, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I'm assuming same year. Heisman, national championship.
All 1 year?
We'll say your junior year, you are guaranteed to win a Heisman and a national championship wherever you go.
Okay.
What school do you go to? There is no right answer to this question, but everybody's just so infused with sports right now. You would think there was.
Huh.
And there's good answers, there's bad answers. I'm hearing one person brought up University of Hawaii. I said, as someone that lived there and was there during the peak, no. Colt Brennan was a celebrity. First of all, he ain't making the NIL money that you're getting at some of these big schools. You're not getting it's just absolutely not.
Shenandoah University, baby. Let's go Hornets.
See, but then you're in the level national championship.
Yeah.
You're not winning like the big natty. You're winning the little natty.
Hey, natty's a natty.
See, there's a few options.
But I got the Heisman. Imagine that being the first D3 player to ever win a Heisman.
Pretty cool.
Exactly.
If you go to, say, like Texas, though, there's probably $4 million a year waiting for you.
Well, there's that.
Because there's no guarantee that you become a pro star. It's just you win a Heisman and a natty. Could be Tim Tebow.
Could be Tim Tebow.
There's a few options. Penn State's been brought up. Tennessee's been brought up. I think the bigger
Cam won a Heisman?
Cam.
Yeah.
The ones like you're on Leinart, Cam Newton, Tim Tebow level of fame.
Vince Young.
Vince Young never won the Heisman.
That's right. He did not win the Heisman.
Should have. Didn't. Actually, that might be Leinart's or Reggie Bush's. One of those two should have been Vince Young's. Either way, I love this portion of the calendar because, in July, it's actually, what's even better example? How I Met Your Mother does a story on this, does a joke on this, where back in the day you'd be at a bar and someone would say, "What's the most popular food in the world?" And they show like in the 90s what that experience was. And it was someone going pizza, someone going hamburgers, someone going, no, it's got to be, like, you get into a debate and it's a whole argument. And nowadays someone goes like, "What do you think's the most popular food in the world?" Somebody types it into their phone and goes, bread. End of conversation because it's just on their phone. Sports are the one place where you put together a stupid hypothetical like that, you can't Google it. There's no right answer. Which do you want? I think Penn State, Tennessee, the ones I'm looking for are massive programs with huge fan bases, lots of money that haven't been good in like 30 years. Because then you're like you don't want to go to Georgia and be like, "My national championship." They're like, yeah, put it in the corner with the rest of them.
Yeah, you and Stetson Bennett both, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. Tennessee's a decent one. I actually think a couple schools around here are sleeping giants in that way.
Mm-hmm.
If you took one of these programs to a national championship, won a Heisman, a lot of meals being picked up. But either way, with that being said, that's why the Hit It and Quit It is such a fun segment for us because sports are popping in all different directions. We get to line them up, knock them out as quick as we can, get to the next, and get on to the kind of the next debate or the next topic. So, without further ado, let's line up Hit It and Quit It. I'll lead off. The Oakland A's are leaving Oakland.
That they are.
So their last games, mercifully in Oakland, because it hasn't been a pretty breakup.
No, it's bad.
Are coming down here. People are stealing seats? Is that what the story is?
Yeah, so they're actually fans at the Oakland Coliseum yesterday. They actually had a walk-off win. Who are literally ripping seats up and taking them with them.
Like a little ratchet.
I don't know if they're bringing tools, but they just went pure Hulk. I'm not entirely sure what they had to do, but they were just literally taking seats out of, like, bolted down. Just, I'm taking this with me. Like, this place is not going to be doing anything here for the next however many years. I'm just going to take this chair with me.
I get it. I think it's kind of a cool idea.
I think it's kind of, if I could have a chair from a stadium, I think it'd be kind of cool.
Here's the kind of, I don't know, more local version. So we just put together my 3-year-old son's like big boy room, right? And his theme is sports. Surprise.
Go figure.
And so we were doing like the eBay, Facebook Marketplace, just looking for things to put on a wall that's kind of cool. And I was on Facebook Marketplace. There's a surprising amount of like old Reynolds Coliseum seats, like a group of 3 from pre-renovation that you can get for like a couple $100. And part of me was like, of course, these are David Thompson played in front of these seats. I need to grab these seats for a cut. And then part of me was like, honestly, I don't know what I would do with these seats. Just like have them in the living room. Like when I'm watching a game, you can be like, go ahead. You sit in the 300 section over there. Like,
it's like my couch is way more comfortable than this, but I got them.
But yeah, I need a cup holder right next to me for my I don't know. It's one of those things that I think is really, really cool until you have one. And then you're like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this. Not saying you shouldn't do it, but I'm saying maybe grab like, if you sat in a particular section, grab like the little plate, that says like Seat 4, maybe not the whole seat. Something you can hang on the wall.
I want the whole seat. There's literally videos of a guy who's like has like 3 seats that are like together.
Yeah, that's what
and
they
just
were
carrying them out.
That's exactly
like all
like
attached
red
together.
versions. That's where I saw the old Rounds Coliseum seats. What stadium would you most like? Now deceased stadium. Right?
Oh.
You can't say like, Jerry World. What stadium would you most like to have seats of? This is one of those sports debates you could have in a bar for a half hour.
First one that popped into my head, Ebbets Field from Brooklyn, where the Brooklyn Dodgers played.
That's cool. It's a good one. As a Mets fan, I'd probably say Shea.
It's like that old Yankee Stadium, something from Fenway or Wrigley.
Well, Fenway's still around.
Yeah, they are still around. But yeah, like something that doesn't exist
You didn't
anymore.
go Three River? You want a Three River?
I've sat in those seats at Three Rivers.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's all I needed. I've sat in those seats multiple times. That's all I needed to experience from there. But I would say Ebbets Field, Brooklyn.
Yeah, I mean,
Dodgers.
from historical perspective, that's pretty cool. Let's quit that. Let's hit this.
We got better tonight.
Talk about the sports world. Something that's going on right now is the WNBA playoffs. And I would say it's difficult for any sport to try to compete against the NFL for viewership because football is king in this country. We don't need to go into that. But did you see on Sunday, Caitlin Clark and the Fever playing on Sunday during the afternoon when their NFL games being played, still drew 1.8 million viewers.
And got smoked, too. So it wasn't even like it was a super close game. No,
and they're back in action tonight.
1.8 million, for those of you that don't know, is a lot for really any sport that's not the NFL or NBA, maybe MLB. NHL for bigger games. But
that's a big number for the NHL.
Yeah, 1.8 that's impressive. And obviously so much of it is Caitlin Clark. Here's the part. Second Yogi Berra quote of the day.
Okay.
Yogi Berra, he was talking about a restaurant in New York City, and he said nobody goes there anymore. It's too crowded. But wait, how does that happen? If nobody goes there, but it's too crowded, you see what I'm saying?
I get it.
I don't know anybody that watched that game, and I run in a lot of sports circles, but 1.8 million people did. So I have to give credit to where it's due. The WNBA has put something together, and Caitlin Clark has risen to the level that people want to watch it. I don't know where these people are coming from, but that's a heck of a lot of them. And then the other thing I'll say is this. I don't know if I give the WNBA credit for this, but people get really mad that the WNBA doesn't promote Caitlin Clark enough. I don't know if you saw did you see the graphic of promoting the WNBA playoffs? There are, I think, 8 teams in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. They had 8 teams with 8 players, like one player from each team, like in an action shot. These teams coming to the WNBA playoffs.
Yeah.
And there was a graphic. And for the Fever, they didn't use Caitlin Clark. And, of course, the world ignited, right? Caitlin Clark stands everywhere. How do you not get it? She's the reason. And then one person just said, I actually think the WNBA is making their product more buzz, making their product more trendy by not promoting Caitlin Clark here, because it gets everybody so upset, and thus those angry replies make it further into the sports world than if they just put out one graphic with Caitlin Clark's face and said, hey, WNBA playoffs. Everyone would go, cool, and they'd move on. But by omitting her, the angry – I don't know if that's like they're playing chess and everyone else is playing tic-tac-toe, but I think it's working for the WNBA.
There's a trick some people will do with social media, especially on Instagram or something like that. They intentionally will misspell something. Mm-hmm. So people go in the comments being like, this you spelled it wrong or spelled it wrong. And guess what it is? It's engagement.
Yep.
That's exactly what that is. People will intentionally do that.
There's an old –
Don't fall for the trick, folks.
I was going to say, I don't know how old it is because it's internet, but there's an old internet idiom, which is if you want an answer, don't ask the internet, post the incorrect answer, because people rush to correct you more than they rush to help you. So if you wanted to say if you wanted to get to the bottom of who is the best basketball player to ever play for NC State, if you just tweeted out who's the best basketball player to ever play for NC State, you'll get 3 or 4 replies. If you tweet out DJ Horn is the best basketball player to ever play for NC State with a bunch of emoji faces, I know what I'm talking about, You're going to have a billion people going, did you never watch so-and-so? Did you never? He's not even as good as so-and-so and blah, 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 blah. It's an internet thing. So I think the WNBA may have unintentionally leaned into that internet thing of people get really upset when we don't mention Caitlin Clark, so we're never going to mention Caitlin Clark, and then 1.8 million people are going to tune in on an NFL Sunday in the afternoon to watch women's basketball.
I think they're back in action tonight, right?
I believe they are back in action tonight. The Fever are. Need to play better if they're going to be back in action in the second round. I know that. That's progress right there.
There it is.
I know that. Let's quit that. Let's hit this.
What?
ACC basketball schedule released last night.
Let's go.
First of all, big games. We talked about them earlier. The schedule is fun to look at and kind of plan your whole viewing experience for the year. I'm going to give a hat tip I don't normally give. Shout out to the ACC Network and ESPN. When the ACC gathers their horses, if you will, for an ACC basketball production, it was well done. It was the schedule release felt like an event, which, again, is difficult because it's the middle of football season. Everybody's distracted with a bunch of other things. But ACC basketball is the type of basketball that should draw a crowd. So I give the ACC Network and ESPN credit for turning what should be an event into an event. I know the bar is low, right? Like, hey, this should be a thing. It is a thing. Are we giving credit for that? But, yeah, because we've seen those things botched so many times.
Yeah, absolutely make it a thing.
It should be. Like, I'm giving you credit for doing what you exactly should do. But congrats for execution. It was a good deal.
What are some? I mean, obviously we know when State and Carolina play each other, when Duke, Carolina, when State and Duke, when those schools play each other. Obviously, we're all going to be locked in on that.
Just about everybody plays Kansas this year.
I know, that's the thing. Like Duke, State, and Carolina all play Kansas, and unfortunately, Kansas doesn't come to the Triangle for any three of those games.
Kansas is the number one team in ESPN's Way Too Early Top 25. Mm-hmm. So I give credit to everybody involved. Kansas, because if you start at the top of most rankings, you really don't have to play a tough non-conference schedule. Because as long as you just don't lose that much, you can only fall so far. I also give credit to everybody in the Triangle for reaching out and trying to schedule the best of the best. Like we talk about this every year. I wish other conferences took it upon themselves the way the ACC takes it upon themselves to play tough non-conference games. Most other conferences, their best teams play maybe one really, really tough non-conference game, and it's usually at a Bahamas Classic or the Maui Invitational or like Duke and Kansas are playing in Vegas. It's like something special. The ACC will play you like anywhere, any time. State and UNC are going to Kansas.
Yep.
Duke is going to Arizona. These teams are like, no, like let's play some games. And because of that, their net rankings will be lower. The ACC won't have as many teams in the NCAA tournament. But I guarantee you the same thing will happen that always happens, which is the ACC will get in fewer teams than the Big Ten and the SEC, and then they'll have more Sweet 16 teams, more Elite 8 teams, and more Final Four teams because they'll be battle-tested from their non-conference schedule. Obviously, the SEC ACC Challenge provides some of that. UNC Alabama is going to be pretty darn good there.
Yep.
There's NC State,
Texas.
NC State's playing Purdue, which is a big non-conference game. There's some really cool non-conference games in addition to what you said. Like, obviously, we're going to watch when State and UNC play, when Duke and UNC play. Like, obviously, we're going to watch those. But the quote-unquote other games are really impressive.
Bring back the Big Four in Greensboro.
The tough part about that
I want that.
I mean, I want that also, don't get me wrong. But the tough part about that is, like, I guess you could do that with conference games. You just have to schedule it that way because like they're not wasting their non-conference games. There are some teams out there I'm like, all right, they need to play so-and-so every year just to guarantee us like a good, tough schedule. The ACC doesn't mess around with that. Everybody's playing a good, tough schedule. Let's quit that. Let's hit this.
You like that? You like that?
I know the Canes have a nice, tough preseason schedule, facing former Stanley Cup champ in the Tampa Bay Lightning. They also got current Stanley Cup champ, the Florida Panthers, in their preseason schedule. It doesn't matter. I'm just joking around here, just talking about schedules. But Canes actually played last night on the road at Tampa Bay. There was about 5 guys that are actually going to be on the NHL roster this coming season that played in the game. But, hey, they won 2-1, and no one got hurt, and the ice time was pretty even amongst all the guys, and that's really about it. Nothing super crazy happened, and that's fine.
Something cool did happen, though.
There is something really cool that did happen.
Rod Brindamore, head coach of the Carolina Hurricanes, got to coach his son, Skylar Brindamore, who's on a PTO.
Professional tryout.
Yeah, essentially a tryout contract. And in a, wearing, it may not be an NHL game, but wearing NHL uniforms, playing with a few NHL players in an NHL stadium, Rod Brindamore got to coach his son, Skylar Brindamore, which, it's that Field of Dreams thing. Do you want to have a catch? It's just fun. Rod Brindamore spoke after the game on how it was coaching his son.
Yeah, man, it's a special moment we look back on, I'm sure, someday. But in the heat of it, he's trying to prove himself, and we're just trying to get through the day here. So, but it was nice moment.
Let's hear from the other direction. Skylar Brindamore on what it felt like playing for his dad.
Yeah, maybe. It's definitely one of those things where you're kind of in the middle of camp. You're not, you're obviously just trying to do your best. You're not too worried about any of the outside noise, I guess, as you would say. So maybe, you look back one day and maybe that was pretty cool. But, right now it's more just I'm trying to focus on playing a good hockey.
It's cool.
Talk about downplaying it so much.
It's cool. It's one of those things that I'm sure, they probably did downplay it and probably even tried to, in their brain, downplay it. But 20 years from now, that's going to be what they're talking about. That's going to be it's cool.
So Skylar Brindamore spent the year in the Florida Panthers system last year, played in their AHL affiliate, so played down in the minors. But I remember when the Florida Panthers were playing at Lenovo Center last year, almost said the other building. But when they were up here in Carolina, Skylar Brindamore played in the preseason game and was actually out there for the opening faceoff against his dad, which I thought was a really cool moment too, because he's like, wow, I get that my son is out there playing in an NHL uniform and all that stuff. So he's on a professional tryout, just trying to make an AHL roster somewhere.
Trying to keep playing professional hockey.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to be in the minors, could be in Charlotte, could be somewhere else like he did last year, playing 54 games in the AHL.
And he's a national champion from college, so it's not like the dude's a scrub that daddy's taking care of.
And he was a 6th-round pick years ago. So again, he's been drafted before, but it's still really cool because I know that a lot of people that are listening either were coached by a parent or they themselves as the parents have coached their kid.
Speaking of 3- and 4-year-olds out at the baseball field this Saturday morning, we're gonna whip them into shape.
There you go.
I'm the coach of my son's team.
You drilling grounders over there?
Assistant coach. Shout out to Coach Jaron. Let's go ahead and skip the baseball one to go to J.J. Jansen. Do we have the audio for this?
We do.
All right. So
got him!
J.J. Jansen, long snapper for the Carolina Panthers, tried to throw a well actually at us. So we all know David Tepper, the owner of the Panthers, threw a drink at a Jacksonville Jaguars fan last season. It was the drink throw that spawned 1,000 jokes. J.J. Jansen tried to hit us with more context, a little well actually. What podcast was this on?
This was on...
He was talking with Colin something.
With Colin Thompson, who's part of SiriusXM and also the Not For Long media.
There you go. J.J. Jansen explaining what went on with Tepper.
I think one of the most misunderstood sort of moments in Panther history was last year in Jacksonville. He's getting ridiculed for throwing a drink at a fan. Well, the behind-the-scenes story is that fan is screaming up into the press box, yelling at him and the whole organization, mocking us when one of our guy you and I know really well, Marquise Haynes, had a major back injury right in front of our bench. This wasn't that far after the DeMar Hamlin stuff. And so he kind of seized up, and it was pretty scary for us as players on the field. There was a couple fans yelling and screaming into our box where our GM and assistant GM and owner and, all these people are just being nasty and gross, and he's defending us. And again, it gets sort of ridiculed as, oh my gosh, someone threw a drink. Nobody's arguing that's probably not something you want to do, but as a player, you're like, he's on our side. He's defending us. He's fighting for us. He cares about us as people and as players. And so, the players certainly feel that 100%. I think the coaching staff does too.
What a spin zone from old J.J. Jansen. Did David Tepper fight for the honor of the team in a boxing ring, or did he throw a drink from the owner's suite onto a fan that was getting raucous? Listen, I get the fan probably was being a jerk. Oftentimes fans are. There's a saying about punching down. When you are the owner, you can't punch down on a fan. Fans are ridiculous. Fans might be really, really mean. Can't throw the drink.
Yeah, it's still unacceptable behavior.
It's like spitting on someone. It's like, they insulted me, so I spit on them. It's like, well, yeah, that's not an appropriate response there. If they insult you, there's a bunch of appropriate responses. And this is going to sound even crazy. I almost would have rather he challenged him to a legitimate fight or something. Throwing a drink doesn't make you feel like I fought for the honor of. It's like you kind of, nah. But if the fan was making fun of an injured guy, he deserves something, probably just to be ejected. I think an NFL owner probably could make that happen. Just throwing that out there. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. Duke fans, how excited are you for Duke football? How excited are you? And how much do you sense that lurking monster around the corner? I'll tell you what that means next.
Donald Trump's back, and he's out for control.
I would have every right to go after them.
Complete control.
I will wield that power very aggressively.
And he has a plan to get it.
Detailed plans for exactly what our movement will do.
It's called Project 2025, a 922-page blueprint to make Donald Trump the most powerful president ever. Overhauling the Department of Justice, giving Trump the unchecked power to seek vengeance, eliminating the Department of Education, and defunding K-12 schools, requiring the government to monitor women's pregnancies, and Trump has also proposed severe cuts to Medicare and Social Security. Those are Donald Trump's plans.
Well, revenge does take time, I will say that. And sometimes revenge can be justified.
He'll take control, we'll pay the price.
I'm Kamala Harris, candidate for president, and I approve this message. Paid for by Harris for president.
Homeowners, listen up. The Fed has taken action, lowering rates for the first time in years, and Loan Pronto has followed suit by lowering mortgage rates big time. Hey, it's Dennis Cox for Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto just locked in a homeowner at 4.59% APR, the lowest in 2 years. Whether you got your loan last month or last year, it's time to call Loan Pronto and dump that high rate loan. You can lock in a lower rate with virtually no paperwork and usually no appraisal. There's no limit on how many times you can refi, so get started. Even if you're in process with another lender, give Loan Pronto a call. If you act now, you can even skip your next 2 house payments. Purchase loans available as well, so call now. Get your rate quote in minutes with no hard credit pull and no upfront fees like those other guys. Call 919-381-1760 or loanpronto.com. 919-381-1760, loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, on approved credit, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Time is up. The IRS is in full collection mode for 2024, issuing liens, levies, and garnishments to anyone who has a past tax debt or unfiled tax returns. Don't wait till it's too late. Your paycheck and bank accounts are at risk of being seized. Call now and stop the collection process today. If you're living check to check, no matter how much you're making, you still may qualify for the Fresh Start programs offered by the IRS to reduce or even eliminate your tax debt. It's just a 5-minute call to get your options, and it's free. If you owe back taxes, have years of unfiled tax returns, under audit, have a wage or bank levy, or finally just want to sleep better, business or personal, call the experts at Republic Tax Relief while there's still time. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, and tough. This veteran-owned company has the fight you need to take on the IRS. Don't go at it alone. The call is free. Call their hotline number now, 800-652-1714. That's 800-652-1714. Find out if you qualify today. Call 800-652-1714 or go to republictaxrelief.com.
Must qualify for enrollment. Results may vary. Paid for by AMD Financial.
Train heating and cooling systems are engineered to keep up with you. We run together. Visit traininfo.com to find your local independent train dealer. It's hard to stop a train.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. Duke football, fans, supporters, team, coaches must be excited. 4-0, the mark of stability for football in the state of North Carolina, the Duke Blue Devils. Getting better every game. Must be excited. Do you think they hear Jaws music? Dun-dun, 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 dun-dun. Do you think they hear the Jaws music? How much do you think they feel the lurking monster around the corner? Duke football started last season, 4-0. 3-1 the year before that. Mike Elko gone. Malik Murphy has 11 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. In 2022, Riley Leonard had 8 total touchdowns and 2 interceptions through 4 games, and that started things in motion to get him to Notre Dame. Is there such thing as too good too quickly for Duke, for a new regime, a new power structure, a new coach and quarterback? Because let's say Manny Diaz won 5 or 6 games this year. Probably comes back next year. Let's say he wins 6 or 7 games the next year. Then 7 or 8 games the next year.
Like slowly built.
Then 7 or 8 games. Then 8 or 9 games. Then 7 or 8 games. Then 9 or 10 games. Then 10 or 11 games. Now he's a hot coaching candidate that everybody wants at all the big blue blood schools, but he also has 6 or 7 years of loyalty built into Duke, right? His wife has a favorite restaurant. He loves the neighbors. He has a couple boosters that he goes golfing with every off. Like he's more entrenched. What if they win 10 games this year? First of all, bananas. What if they win 8 games this year? Is he gone this offseason? Is he getting calls this offseason, but he comes back for one more? Then the next year, what happens? Maybe they're even better. Maybe now Malik Murphy's a Heisman Trophy candidate. They're talking about him as a first-round pick. Maybe now they're on College game day. Maybe now they're playing 3 or 4 consecutive weeks on night games on ABC. Oh, wait, that just happened for Duke last year.
Yeah, you get a nice primetime win over Clemson.
They did so good that their coach cashed in and went to Texas A&M, and their quarterback cashed in and went to Notre Dame, and their best defensive player left in the transfer portal went to Virginia Tech. Now, credit to them, they've found a way to bounce back. They found a way to start doing it again. But at what point do you start hearing the Jaws music of, are they gonna leave us too? Start to have abandonment issues. And if you hadn't started thinking about it, I apologize for maybe bringing it to your attention. But is that what football is like for Duke, and not just Duke, but football programs like Duke? Is that what college football is like now? Either you have the war chests full of cash to pay top dollar for your coach and quarterback, or as soon as they show signs of life and signs of your program building, the ones with the war chests come calling, and it's tough to ask anybody to pass on life-changing money. And I'll even throw this out there. If it does happen again, let's say Malik Murphy next year. I'm just spitballing. We're just having hypotheticals.
Throwing darts.
Let's say Malik Murphy. I mean, if he stays on this 11-4, 11-4, and he ends up throwing 33 touchdowns against something like 10 interceptions. If he does that, everybody's going to come calling. Let's say he's at some blue blood national championship contender next year. Can Duke even realistically complain when they try to do the same thing to other programs in basketball? Tulane's out there going, Sion James was pretty awesome for us, and now he's at Duke. Right? Purdue's like, wait a second. You just took our Big Ten sixth man of the year, and now he's playing at Duke. There's that going on. Duke must be excited. They should be excited. But we talk about this in college football all the time. You have to look at every year as its own being, right? I don't believe you're going to see many coaches preserving red shirts for players anymore, right? When the rule first became you could play in 4 games and keep your red shirt, you saw a lot of coaches playing guys in 4 games and then stopping it because they wanted to preserve that year of eligibility. Or sometimes you saw coaches wait until there were just 4 games left, then let their talented freshmen play to preserve an extra year of eligibility. That was when you were thinking of your program in like 4-year blocks, 5-year blocks. I don't believe that's going to happen as much anymore because coaches are looking at it as this year. And why am I going to preserve a year of eligibility for you when there's a good chance you're gone by the end of your career anyway? I'm going to save a year of eligibility for whatever team's going to pay you more in NIL 2 years from now. The hard part about that thinking is it's so much more difficult to build a program. Because oftentimes the building of a program is like a 5-year plan. But after 2 years, you become a really attractive candidate to other schools. Like Mike Elko didn't finish at Duke.
No.
He didn't get it all the way to a masterpiece. He didn't get it all the way to, like, you know, when an artist finally puts the paintbrush down and says it's perfect. But what he did was he got the first 2 years of brush strokes really gosh darn good, and someone else came in and said, I'll pay you more to paint my program. And then he left. So now Manny Diaz probably has a similarly 3, 4, 5-year plan to get Duke where he wants it to be. And if his brushstrokes keep being as good as they've been through the first 4 games of this year, somebody's going to show up and say, can you come paint my program? We'll give you more money for it. And he's not going to have the time built up to be extremely loyal. You hope that can develop quickly, but it's tough. Right? I do think, to look across the triangle, right? Somebody like Dave Doran, he's got over a decade into NC State.
Yeah.
If he wins 10 games next year, if he goes 4-0 next year, and somebody comes a-calling, it'll be a more difficult decision for him. He's got deeper roots here. For Manny Diaz, I was in Miami, I was in Penn State, I'd been actually in the triangle before. Like I've been all over the place, and sure, I'll go take the money. I know I can move. The Duke football team, I mean, if you listen to this show, we've been singing its praises for 3 weeks now.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to continue to do so if they keep continuing to build in the way they've been building. It just stinks for anyone other than like the 10 richest programs in the country. If you have a big breakthrough, it's almost like that timer in the corner of the TV starts counting down to when big offers start coming in for that person. To look across sports, after the 1986 recruiting class for Duke basketball, or the 1986 senior class, I think it was the 82 recruiting class. Mm-hmm. We're talking Johnny Dawkins. We're talking the Billis, Allen, like that whole group. Modern day, if that happens, there's probably someone else with a boatload of cash for Coach K lined up, and you might not even get the Leitner Hurley kind of next wave of the national championship group.
There are guys for Duke football right now that were recruited by David Cutcliffe that may even played a year under Cutcliffe, like their freshman year, played for 2 years with Elko, and then are now playing under Manny Diaz.
Yep.
Like, imagine what those guys are going through.
And they're like the wizened old heads that are talking to the freshmen, who the freshmen are probably going like, Coach Diaz got us going, and we're going to be the foundation. And they're looking at him going, maybe. Maybe.
Because there's guys on that team that were recruited by Elko.
Yep.
And there's guys on the team that were recruited by Diaz, or in this case, like Malik Murphy, transfer recruit from Manny Diaz. It's just a hodgepodge.
If you want to have the same coach in college football at a less than top 10 spending program, you need to Goldilocks the heck out of that bad boy. Mm-hmm. You can't be too bad because that coach is getting fired. Can't be too good because that coach is getting hired away. You need to be just right. You need to win like 8 games, no more, no less. You need to win one more game than you won the year before, but no more, no less. Because one game less might get fired. Too many more games won, you might get hired.
I mean, it's no different than what we saw a few years ago. App State with Eli Drinkwitz was App State head coach for 1 year after being the offensive coordinator at NC State, and now he's at Missouri. He's built it up into a top 10 program. He's been there since 2020. I believe it was his first year there. So he's been there for a few years, but he was just 1 year at App.
So and in weird ways, we see this in other parts of sports. In the NFL, if your offense is awesome, your offensive coordinator is getting a head coaching job the next year.
Probably.
So if you bring in a young quarterback, and you bring the offensive coordinator that you think is perfect to develop that young quarterback, well, you better have them leave blueprints on what they want the next guy to do. Because if it works and the young quarterback looks good, that guy's getting hired for someone else's young quarterback the next year as a head coach. Impending doom is not a fun place to be. I get it. But if your coach is too good, if the program is too surprising, start the clock. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. Tim Donnelly here for Capital Financial Advisory Group. Do you know how much you're spending on commissions each year out of your retirement account? Do you know how about the amount of risk you're taking with your cash? Do you know how many fees you're paying? If the answer to these questions or any questions like them are no, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I trust my guy to do it. Or I signed up for it years ago and I just don't touch it. That's got to be. If that's how you're thinking, you need to sit down with Capital Financial Advisory Group. Even if it's just for a second opinion and they look at it and go, no, actually you're doing pretty good. That peace of mind is worth its weight in gold. You want to get rid of all the financial termites, the things that are eating into your cash that you might not even know. I see commercials now for do you have 2 streaming accounts for a particular streaming service and you're paying twice a month for no reason? Apparently people are doing that. If you think you are the type of person that is a set it and forget it and you just don't look at your statements, Capital Financial Advisory Group is a necessity. Even if you're someone that checks every day, how's my account doing? Capital Financial Advisory Group is a necessity as well because they can make sure those gains you're tracking every day are maximized. Your retirement account is not something to just not pay attention to. Give them a call at 800-691-3215. Let them know you heard about it from me, Tim, on 99.9 The Fan, and they can walk you through getting your very own total and customized retirement plan that you will have intimate knowledge of. Every in and out you will be aware of. 800-691-3215. Right now, let them know you heard about it from me, or just text my name, Tim, T-I-M, to 600-700. That's Tim to 600-700. For Capital Financial Advisory Group. We're going to take a timeout. When we come back, the starting 5. Stick around.
Evan, Canty, and Michelle are unsportsmanlike.
Any win early in the season for the Jets is consequential. Think about what a hot mess they were last year. This is them proving to themselves that they can get it together, that they can be a functional franchise, that they can be a functional offense and have a functional quarterback. We have not seen this from the New York Jets in a long time.
Unsportsmanlike.
Mornings from 6 to 9 on 99.9 The Fan, the Triangle Sports Leader.
A torn ACL, stress fracture, aching back, a hip that's had it, life on hold, and all you want is to get it back. Enter Wake Orthopedics. Our fellowship-trained orthopedists do it all. General, sports, pediatric, joint replacement, fractures, spine, prevention, advanced diagnostics, progressive treatments, minimally invasive procedures, surgeries, and more. Visit wakemed.org/wakeortho and get back your life.
Who's ready for some football? Celebrate the season with award-winning wings and ice-cold pints at Carolina Ale House. With wall-to-wall TVs, Carolina Ale House is the go-to spot for every game. From Honey Buffalo to 5 Alarm to Carolina Barbecue, we've got wing sauces for all flavors. If you're feeling hungry, don't forget about our brisket French dip or Philly cheesesteak. Grab a front row seat, sip on your favorite beer, and watch your squad with us. Carolina Ale House. Ale yeah.
See if you're a winner every night. Watch live lottery drawings on WRAL TV's 11 o'clock news. That's right. Carolina Pick 3, Carolina Pick 4, and Carolina Cash 5 numbers every night on WRAL TV's 11 o'clock news. See if you're a winner before you go off to bed. Get your lottery numbers live every night.
North Carolina,
Education Lottery.
Only on WRAL TV's 11 o'clock news.
Lanny went to college and racked up huge debt.
A little bit over $100,000.
For a degree he couldn't use? Now what?
I had a friend that went to my computer career and they talked to me about it.
He was done in just months.
I did do it online.
They even helped him get hired immediately after graduation.
One of the things I love about IT is that you can work from anywhere you want.
You could become an IT pro in just months with zero experience at My Computer Career.
It worked for me and I know it can work for you.
It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
The clock is ticking. Diamonds Direct's ultimate offer is almost over. Until September 30th, you can get 5 years of 0% financing on any purchase. It's the perfect chance for worry-free shopping with no interest and monthly payments customized for you. And now open Sunday, September 29th. Take advantage of this amazing opportunity. From luxury timepieces to engagement rings and more. Don't wait. Spread your payments over 5 years with zero interest on approved credit. Only until September 30th. For details and more, visit DiamondsDirect.com.
The North Carolina Courage is the only professional women's soccer club in the world to bring home gold, silver, and bronze medals this year. And you could win a season ticket package including 4 tickets to every home game in 2025. Visit WRAL.com and search Courage to enter.
This hour of the Triangle Sports Leader is powered by Ritchie Law Firm, North Carolina's injury lawyers.
Visit GotBrian.com.
That's GotBrian.com. WCMC HD1 Holly Springs. Take us with you on radio, web, app, Alexa, and YouTube. 99.9 The Fan, the Triangle Sports Leader.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm WRAL meteorologist Mike Mays. We have a small chance for shower this evening, the low 69. Showers become likely for the day tomorrow. All this rain in advance of Helene, the high 81. We have a 100% chance of showers and storms Friday morning, 83.
Weather update brought to you by Newcomb and Company, where your comfort is their business. Visit newcombandcompany.com. 5 o'clock check of your money. Dow Jones is down 293 points today to 41,914.
It's 5 o'clock. Time to serve up the biggest sports stories of the day. Here comes your starting 5.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. The starting 5 brought to you by Ritchie Law Firm. Raleigh's Injury Lawyers. Visit GotBrian.com. That's G-O-T, Brian.com. Let's jump into the starting 5, starting with number 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
ACC Basketball released their schedules last night. Starting to feel real, isn't it? Basketball season right around the corner.
In 2 weeks, we'll be talking to coaches and players from around the ACC.
You're darn right we will.
In 2 weeks, we'll be in Charlotte
ACC
doing
tip-off.
that.
Wild. The games, like, we did it earlier today. We went through, we circled the games that we're most excited to watch, and of course there are awesome games. There's rivalry games in the ACC. There's great non-conference games for the team in the Triangle. There's revenge games from a year ago. There's all of the quintessentials you need for a great season.
Mm-hmm.
That's not surprising. It's part of what makes ACC basketball so darn great is there are certain staples. It's like Thanksgiving. Doesn't mean you like the food any less, but you know it's coming, right? There are certain meals you show up and you're like, oh, what are we having? And then there's certain meals you show up and you're like, it's going to be great. It's going to be turkey. It's going to be mashed potatoes. Like, you know, it's going to be gravy. You got the cranberry. You know where everything is. You know what, and it's just good every single time. That's why I love ACC basketball. Other conferences, you show up, schedule release. Guess what the question is? What are we having? Oh, really? That's it? Or, ooh, that's kind of nice. Some years you have awesome games. Some years you don't. Some years the non-conference schedule lives up to expectations. Some years it doesn't. In the ACC, there's a mixture of a few things. There is great teams in the league every year. We're talking the top of the top. We're talking the Blue Bloods, the Dukes, UNCs, the Virginias, the ones that have won national championships in the last however many years. Then there's also the awesome stories. There's usually a Syracuse run every couple years. There's Florida State making a run every couple years. Miami, that maybe the best story of the last few years was NC State last year going from near the bottom to the Final Four in a magical 1 month run. That is always a possibility in the ACC. And then the third thing you have is absolutely no fear. And what that means is if you're Pitt, you're not afraid of blue bloods because you play them all the time. So you're always liable to go out there and lean a little too far out over your skis and pull off an upset. You're always willing to play a tough non-conference schedule. I truly believe there's not 5 programs in the country that would even consider what Duke is doing at the end of November. Going from playing at Arizona to playing Kansas in Vegas. The number 9 team, according to ESPN's Way Too Early Top 25 poll, to the number 1 team in ESPN's Way Too Early Top 25 poll within 4 days of each other, both not at home in their non-conference schedule. There's not 5 teams in the country that would consider that. I actually think UNC is one of them. But there's no one else. The ACC basketball schedule release is like I said, it's like when they start bringing out the food at Thanksgiving. You're not surprised by it, but you're excited for it. You're just going, oh, right, the casserole. Oh, you're right, perfect. Give me some light meat, white meat, and some dark meat. Oh, you're right. Oh, we got the canned cranberry and we got the homemade cranberry. You need both.
Not a cranberry guy.
I'm sure, actually, we're not going to get into it now because obviously this will come during Thanksgiving. I'm sure you have some interesting Thanksgiving food opinions.
Okay.
Just seem like that kind of guy.
All right.
That's number 5. Let's get to number 4.
1, 2, 3, 4, all together.
Major League Baseball getting to the point of the season where people are popping champagne in the locker rooms. And what I mean by that is teams are starting to clinch divisions, starting to clinch postseason berths, starting to clinch the things that they work super hard for all year, which is exciting. It's the reason why you play it. Even like if you're not a big baseball fan, you're like 162 games. There's something special about postseason baseball. It's traditional. It's cool. It's worth it. I make fun of my wife. Does this? My wife says she's essentially a playoff fan. Grew up in Baltimore or outside Baltimore, but near Baltimore. So she's a Ravens, Orioles fan, right? But you wouldn't really know it unless they're in the playoffs. Then all of a sudden she's big fan. For football, I'm like, come on, you can't watch 17 games or pay attention, check the scores on 17 games during the regular season. I get it for baseball. It's like that's a big commitment. And once you get to the postseason, it is more fun. So teams that have clinched playoff berths, we have the Yankees and Orioles, speaking of. We have the Guardians, Astros, Phillies, Milwaukee Brewers, Dodgers, and Padres. There's a bunch of teams that have already eliminated themselves, but there's a bunch of other teams scrapping and clawing, and that's what it's all about. Some funny kind of anecdotes. Baltimore has Jackson Holliday on their roster. He was the former number 1 prospect, number 1 overall pick. I think he's like 20. He might be 19.
But a child.
So when they clinched their playoff berth, while everyone else was popping champagne, they brought out some sparkling water.
Oh.
They called it like bird bath water or something like that.
Okay.
And it literally said on the label for Orioles under 21 years old. And then they also brought out some baby bottles for them.
Cute.
Good little joke. When you're popping bottles in locker rooms because your professional sports team already made the playoffs and you're not yet 21, I don't know. It's tough to imagine. You got a lot of upward trajectory there, but congratulations on reaching it so early in life.
I've always found it just, I don't know, weird that in baseball, like they're popping champagne bottles because you made the postseason. And then you win a series to go to the next one. You're doing the same thing. I'm like, I'm all for celebrating, but
they get good at it too.
I'm like, y'all are going a little too hard, in my opinion, for like, oh yeah, we got a wild card spot. Woo!
well, that's a long season. They got a lot of pent up energy. They get really good at it. When you see teams and they roll up and like the airtight tarp seal across all of their lockers.
Yeah.
And they all have like ski goggles on, and it's like, you guys this is preparation. This isn't like, oh, let's celebrate a little bit, let's dump something on their head. It's like, you guys are good at this.
Imagine if like an NFL team did that. Whoa, we just clinched the division, boy. We just clinched a playoff spot, just popping champagne bottles in the locker room. People would be like, what are you guys doing?
I think they should.
Yeah, go for it.
I think they probably do. They just don't have cameras in the locker room. To football teams go a little too crazy. That's number 4. Let's get to number 3. Matthew Sluka, UNLV starting quarterback, is at the center of a great college debate right now, which is, I
guess, can we say former UNLV quarterback now?
I'm going to wait till the next guy starts the next game.
Okay.
Because who knows? Maybe they come up with some cash and he's back by Saturday. So Matthew Sluka has led UNLV to an undefeated early part of their season. They are knocking on the door. They may even be in the top 25, depending on what poll or ranking you're looking at.
I think AP, they're 25th.
They're in the running to be the top group of 5 team, which would get if they win their conference, would get them into the college football playoff. And he's a transfer from Holy Cross. He's sitting out the rest of the season to preserve his eligibility because he's played in 4 games so he can keep his red shirt, because he claims UNLV promised him a certain NIL total, NIL money, and they have given him almost none of it, and now they are saying they won't be giving him any of it. It is a he said situation. Carl Reed, who works for 247 Sports and CBS Sports, said all financial commitments for UNLV quarterback Matthew Sluka were completely met. But after wins against Kansas and Houston, Sluka's family hired an agent, and they collectively feel that his market has increased, per source. There's also a bunch of reporting, particularly Adam Rittenberg from ESPN, that have talked to Sluka's father, who said, no, we were promised a certain amount of money, and they've given us none of it, and there has been no payouts, or $3,000 out of $100,000 has been paid, and nothing else. It's an all-time debate. Who's in the right? Probably both sides of some kind of accountability, right? There's 3 sides to every story: your side, my side, and the truth. So there's probably a third side to this: Sluka's, UNLV's, and the truth somewhere in the middle. But that's just me looking on from the outside. You want the good news out of this situation? Hajj Malik Williams taking over as starting quarterback for a top 25 team in the country. Many of you may remember Hajj Malik Williams from the 5 years he spent previously at Campbell. So he went from Campbell right around here in North Carolina, played there for 5 years, got better, ended up as a multi-year starter, hit the transfer portal after 5 years, goes to UNLV, finds himself backing up a transfer from Holy Cross. Suddenly, he is thrust into the starting role. So now we get to see how good he is. Maybe he's better. Maybe he just took a top 25 team and made him a top 15 team. I saw him play against my Delaware Blue Hens in person last year at Campbell. He's going to have to play better than that. Although he did show flashes in that game. I'm not going to act like I know all about his game from watching one. But it's an opportunity for him. It's so funny. Every time, this happened with, say, Connor Harrell. When you take over a starting job because someone got hurt, you always say, you dream of these opportunities, but, you never want them to come by way of injury. Then you have Andy Dalton taking over for Bryce Young, and you go, you dream of these opportunities, getting another chance to start, but you never want them to come, at the expense of someone you like being benched. Do you think Hajj Malik Williams has to come out and say, you dream of these opportunities, but you never dream that they come over $100,000 arguments between NIL collectives and players that share a quarterback meeting room with you for 2 months? It is a weird, weird world we are living in college sports right now.
Quite odd.
One point I do want to make, though. College sports continue to change. College football specifically continues to change, many would say for the worse. I would argue just about all of the changes are coming on Sunday through Friday. Saturdays, they still aren't that different. I still sit down and watch football every Saturday, and when a quarterback scores a touchdown or when a quarterback throws an interception, my mind doesn't immediately go to, yeah, but how nice is the car that they drove to the stadium?
Mm-hmm.
When I'm watching the agony of defeat after a game, when somebody poured their blood, sweat, and tears into a game and came up just short, I'm not watching it and going, yeah, he doesn't care about the game because he knows he's going to transfer this offseason. Transfers, NIL, the coaching carousel, media rights, conference realignment. It's changed college sports, but my Saturdays are still pretty darn good. Wednesdays become big debate days. Like now we got to talk about NIL. Saturdays to me are still about the guys on the field, and that's still as awesome as it's ever been. It's number 3. Let's go ahead and jump to number 2.
Just the two of us.
Panthers were back at practice today.
Yes. Well, some of them were.
Well, why don't you go ahead and give us that update?
All right, so guys that we're actually looking to possibly see coming back in the near future, DJ Wanham, who is on physically unable to perform list, along with Amari Barno, as well as Jonathan Brooks. All 3 of these guys, according to Dave Canales, are in the final stages of being able to return to play. Which final stages can mean like, all right, does that mean you're back at practice next week? These guys are all eligible to be active next week.
Yep.
So after this Sunday's game, we might see all 3 of these guys back, which is a potential thing, again, to be determined. But nonetheless, it is a possibility.
Which is lovely. Reinforcements needed. I know week 3 was a very, very good showing by the Panthers. That nothing showed me that they can't still use a bunch of help from healthy guys. DJ Wanham was supposed to be opposite Devion Clowney from the jump, and his injury took longer to recover than originally anticipated. Jonathan Brooks, I know it may look like Chuba Hubbard doesn't need any help at running back, but you want depth at that position. And maybe there's some reps, particularly like the Miles Sanders reps that you could give to Brooks to ease him in. He was your second-round pick that you traded up because you just could not bear waiting to see if he fell to you at your pick. I like reinforcements coming. The other thing that is worth mentioning is starting left guard Damian Lewis suffered a tear in his elbow, according to Jordan Schultz, NFL national reporter, and will likely miss at least 1 game. An IR stint, which would hold him out at least 4, is unlikely. I think that's more important than you think. Who would be up next? Is it Zavala?
It's Chandler Zavala, because he's the one that filled in directly for him when he got injured on Sunday, and looks like he might be the guy. The former NC State guy.
Zavala's going to have to step up because Damian Lewis is very, very good, and that offensive line has been playing very, very good. And you want to be able to lean on that as you try to build off of last week. And goes without saying, but keeping Andy Dalton upright, pretty important. Andy Dalton's not going to be the fastest guy in the world. You're not going to want him, using the juke button on his controller too many times. And Dennis, let me ask you this.
Okay.
Because I just thought of a question that I don't even want to answer because it's not that fun. So I'm going to make you answer it. What do you think the reaction would be if, even if it's just like a boo-boo or an ouchie for Andy Dalton, if Bryce Young had to go back in the game soon?
That'd be a lot of moans and groans and go, oh, dang it. Put in Jack Plummer.
Is that fan base or teammates?
Yes. I think definitely fan base for sure.
I think it would even be a weird situation to put your teammates because they've bought so wholeheartedly into this Andy Dalton coming in and taking over that to go right back to Bryce would be tough. So I'm not putting Andy Dalton in harm's way as often as I can. If I can keep in an extra guy in protection, if I can give him a pocket to step up into, I really want to do that. And part of that is Damian Lewis and Robert Hunt at those guard positions with Austin Corbett at center between them, allowing him to step up and make those throws. So Zavala, the guy is important. The guy protecting the guy is also important. You're going to have to do a really good job out there. A really good job. For at least a game. If it ends up being more, that task becomes even more difficult. Other than we talked about this yesterday, but I'll just add another kind of injury update. Adam Thielen has been put on IR with the hamstring injury, so he's out at least 4 weeks.
As is Jordan Fuller, the safety.
So and by the way, both veterans. So you're going to have to replace those guys. I'm a big Adam Thielen fan. I'm excited by what that might mean for Xavier Legette getting more opportunities, what that might mean for Jonathan Mingo getting more opportunities. Part of it is just it's football. It's a physical game. Guys are going to get hurt. You hope it's not the ones that matter the most. That's number 2. Let's get to number 1. Preseason, game 1, Carolina Hurricanes. Last night, Canes win 2-1 at Tampa.
Going undefeated, baby. Let's go. 82-0.
Hey, you can't. It's more than 82-0 because these were preseason.
I'm just saying. How
many preseason are there? 6?
6.
So 88-0.
Let's go.
Can't win them all if you don't win the first.
It's true.
Here's the part. Preseason games, especially in the NHL, are really difficult to take things from because, like in the NFL, you can almost make observations off of who plays, and we did that. As much as we talked about who played well in the preseason for the Panthers, we talked about just who played. Who needs those reps? Who needs to get out there? Who needs to play with somebody to build chemistry? Who needs to earn their spot? All of those things. In the NHL, it truly is there are rules on who you can play. So, Dmitry Orlov was out there last night. Dmitry Orlov played, 23 minutes? If there was a 33-year-old veteran that was the only veteran playing in an NFL preseason game, oh, you best believe we'd be talking about that. If Adam Thielen was out there playing 2 quarters with Jack Plummer in preseason game 1 and no other starters were playing with him, we'd be going, what the heck? Why is Adam Thielen going to be traded? We'd be doing all of that. In the NHL, there are legitimate rules that you have to have a certain amount of NHL players out there, and everybody's going to play in 2 maybe of these games, 3 maybe of these games at least. So, they're handcuffed into making some of those decisions. So we don't even get an opinion on what Rod Brindamore thinks of these guys based on how much they play because they kind of have to play. So it's very difficult to parse through something like preseason game 1 and come away with any concrete opinions other than the guys that played from our perspective looked like they played healthy, looked like they stayed healthy. Kochetkov played all 60 minutes. So, we can take into account that everybody that played is pretty healthy. That's really all we can take from that is Kochetkov doesn't have any, minor tweaks from the beginning of camp that they wanted to rest. So he's out there playing 60 minutes. Other than that, I don't know what we're taking away from it.
You just honestly, it's one of those situations where no news is good news.
No news is good news. Part of you may even want to say, the Jackson I almost called him Jackson Unger Sorum. I'm saying these three rookies.
Jackson Unger Nadeau.
Yeah,
that's his name.
Hey, that group: Jackson Blake, Felix Unger Sorum, Bradley Nadeau, played together. Also played with some other guys.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. No fireworks. Is that even worth mentioning? There was. It's not like they came together on a line and all of a sudden all transcended to another space of being. They were just out there as 3 guys trying to make a roster, playing in preseason game 1.
They look like rookies.
They are rookies.
That's it. You look like rookies.
They might not even be rookies.
I know. They're too young.
If they don't make the NHL, they'll come back next year as rookies. They are hoping to be rookies. That's what they are, and that's what they look like. And I don't if a duck walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, is that news or is that just you just looked at a duck? One of the cool parts, I guess you could say, if you're looking for just heartwarming, nice things, are Rod Brindamore did get a chance to coach his son, Skylar Brindamore, in a NHL-ish game. They got to wear NHL jerseys, play in an NHL arena, and I'm sure it was cool for Rod to look down and be like, hey, Skylar, you're in. Pretty cool. Rod Brindamore after the game on how it was coaching his son.
Yeah, man, it's a special moment we look back on, I'm sure. someday. But in the heat of it, he's trying to prove himself, and we're just trying to get through the day here. So, but it was nice moment.
Do you know what I want to know? After every spring game, after every game I played in, I'd call my parents. And if they got a chance to watch the game, they would throw me their observations. If, they whatever, I would tell them what I saw and, oh, this is what happened, and, oh, this is what happened on the touchdown, this is what happened on the interception, da-da-da-da. Do you think, like, Skylar, talks to Coach in the locker room? Coach gives his post-game speech, then he puts on his regular clothes, he gets on the bus, gets to the hotel, calls Dad. Hey, Dad. Yeah, Coach said that I need to do better at but like, I don't know. It's that is an interesting kind of dynamic there, right? We talked about it with Bronny and Braun. What do you call them on the ice? Do you think Skylar's going by with like, hey, Dad, do you want me to take the face off? Or do you think it's like, Coach Rod, do you want me to take the face? Like, which, I don't, how does that work? I've talked about this. Like, if your mom was your teacher, which happened with me. My mom was a substitute teacher, taught me occasionally. I would just avoid calling her by name. And like, I'm not saying like, hey, Mom, but I'm also not saying like, excuse me, Mrs. Donnelly. I'm just kind of like raising my hand and waiting for her to call on me to talk. What do you do? Interesting beast. When's the next preseason game?
It'll be this Friday.
This Friday. You can hear it here on 99.9 The Fan.
It's a 6 o'clock puck drop. So Storm Watch with Adam Gold will be at 5:30.
So we'll be getting out a little early on a Friday.
Yeah, we will. Okay, cutting out early on a Friday.
Hey.
Let's go.
To listen to / watch some preseason hockey.
I'll probably be going to the game.
There you go. So go ahead and get ready for that on Friday. Before we move on, before we get our numbers game contestants, The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. I'm Tim Donnelly for Window Nation. Here's my experience with Window Nation, with their free, no obligation, fast, in-home consultation and estimate. Justin came into my house, talked to my wife and I about our windows. The main takeaways that I left with were, A, your windows do a lot more to your pocketbook than you think. Every single month, your energy bill can be lower than it is due to Window Nation windows. The value of your house goes up if your windows are new. The other things that I left with are you should really only have people work on your windows if they are window experts. The jack of all trades may be great for like, hey, they can help with the plumbing and, frame up a door and also do some electrical work. But your windows are the only thing keeping you from the elements. And that's not something you want to figure out was done by someone who's like their 7th best skill is installing windows. You want somebody whose windows are their lives. And that's what it is at Window Nation. They worry about installing windows. They worry about crafting windows. They worry about the material of windows. They worry about inspecting windows. They worry about lifetime warranties on windows. They deal with windows, and that's comforting when that first North Carolina storm comes through and it's threatening to knock your house down like the big bad wolf. Window Nation is all about value. They're all about making sure they do their customers right, and they want you to be one of those customers. So much so that right now they're offering buy 2 windows, get 2 windows free. No limit to how much you could save there, and then you can save even more with 0 down and no interest or payments for 24 months. So go ahead and give them a call, 866-90-NATION. That's 866-90-NATION. Or you can visit them online at windownation.com to schedule your free in-home, no-obligation consultation now. Now let's get those numbers game contestants. We have a Autobell Car Wash gift card going to the winner, but we need 2 contestants to play. If you want to play, call in now. 919-860-5326. One more time, 919-860-5326. We need 2 contestants. Call in now. Numbers game coming up.
Move your sports day forward.
They played a complete football game in which it paid off for me in spades. I was able to gas up my car today thanks to Andy Dalton's 319-yard performance. I appreciate that. I do. And y'all should appreciate that too. If you're a Carolina Panthers fan, it's okay. It's okay to be happy today. Pound your chest. There are other teams in bad places.
Get set up. Join Next Up with Paul Ihander. Mornings at 9 on 99.9 The Fan, the Triangle Sports Leader.
Breaking news coming in from Bet365, where every nail-biting overtime win, breakaway, pick six, three-point shot, underdog win, buzzer beater, shootout, walk-off, and absolutely every play in between is amazing. From football to basketball and hockey to baseball, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Gambling problem? Call 1-877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov. 21 plus only.
New to the area? Let me be the first to welcome you. I'm Marcy Bailey of Bailey's Fine Jewelry. We've been family owned and part of North Carolina since 1948. We have a tradition of being voted the best jewelry store with an unparalleled selection of designer jewelry, fine diamonds, engagement rings, watches, and gifts to commemorate all your special occasions. We look forward to sharing our award-winning service and stunning jewels with you. Visit us today in store or at baileybox.com to see why every woman wants a Bailey box.
99.9 The Fan and Coastal Credit Union are proud to announce the return of the Coastal Credit Union Scholar Athlete of the Month. For more than 20 years, we have honored over 200 student athletes that are making a difference on their team and in their community. If you are a teacher, parent, coach, or guardian, nominate your Scholar Athlete today. We will select one winner a month to be featured on 99.9 The Fan and on WRAL News Plus. To nominate a winner, text AWARD to 919-860-5326. That's AWARD to 919-860-5326.
Congrats to last year's winners. Emma Penkunas of Holly Springs High School, Connor O'Toole of Athens Drive, Kenzie Smith of Fuquay Varina, Patience Ifadon of South Garner High, Carrie Ellen Bryan of Southern Lee, Carson Parker, Apex Friendship, Jason Howard of Wakefield High School, and Eric Stoll of Green Level. We also want to thank all of our other local schools who nominated a student: Apex Friendship, Jordan Matthews, Northwood, Green Hope High, Willow Springs, Jacksonville High, South Granville, Cleveland High, Riverside, and South Johnston.
This is Creighton Blackwell with Coastal Credit Union, and I would like to offer my sincerest thanks to every school that nominated a student for this year's award. This award is more than a celebration of exceptional athletes. It's also a celebration of the schools and the communities that helped them grow into the incredible leaders that we like to celebrate.
Congratulations to all of our Coastal Credit Union Scholar Athletes of the Month. If you want to nominate a high school athlete, text AWARD to 919-860-5326.
Experience our Raleigh tradition. Head to Amedio's Italian Restaurant, a family favorite for over 60 years. From weekly specials to their famous homemade recipes, Amedio's uses only the freshest ingredients. Need a touchdown for your tailgate? Amedio's offers delicious takeout, perfect for cheering on the Wolfpack. Or they can host your private party. Amedio's even caters. Amedio's Italian Restaurant, Raleigh's Taste of Italy since 1963. Visit amediosrestaurant.com for details.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. It is time to play the numbers game, part of the show where I get to pretend I am a game show host. On the line today, meaning the contestants, we have Lewis in Clayton and Trey in Durham. They'll be competing for an Autobell Car Wash gift card. As always, we're going to ask a question to see who gets to go first. So, Lewis in Clayton, we'll start with you. The question is, I don't know if you've been paying attention to it. There's a lot of drama in the NIL payment world in college football right now. So let's say we can go back to when Lewis is 21 years old. I don't know how old you are. If somebody gave you $100,000, what is the first thing you're spending it on as a 21-year-old?
Down payment on a house for my mom.
It's going to be tough to beat. It is going to be tough to beat. Lewis, stay on the line. We'll ask the same question to Trey. Trey in Durham, you're 21 years old. You're given $100,000. What's the first thing you're going to go spend?
New car.
All right. Two quick and simple answers. Dennis, go ahead and make your choice.
I mean, down payment for a home for mom, man. Yeah, that tugs on the heartstrings.
It is kind of the answer, like when you and your buddies are going around and you're doing like that. If you win the Mega Millions, what are you going to buy? Someone's like an island. Someone's like a yacht. Someone's like, I would donate it to cancer research for children. And it's like, all right, you win. Lewis and Clayton, you get to go first. Trey, don't worry, though. You'll have your chance. Go ahead and hang out on the line. Lewis, are you there?
Yeah.
All right. The categories you get to choose from are NFL, Make Your Mark. Those they're all players whose first names are Mark. NFL Vehicle Guys, they're all players that have something to do with driving in their name. NBA Current Players Only, or NHL Canes and Whalers Only?
NBA Current Players.
All right. I'll give you the team and the player. You give me the jersey number as fast as you can. There will be 30 seconds on the clock. You have one pass if you need it. Any questions before we get started?
No.
All right. Your time will start when you hear the horn. Devin Booker, Phoenix Suns.
1.
Correct. Austin Reeves, Los Angeles Lakers.
15.
Correct. Paul George, Los Angeles Clippers.
13.
Correct. Keldon Johnson, San Antonio Spurs.
23.
Incorrect. Chris Middleton, Milwaukee Bucks.
Oh. Pass.
Keldon Johnson, San Antonio Spurs. Oh, you were cruising there. I thought you were in for a perfect score. You got Booker, you got Reeves, you got George. Keldon Johnson with the Spurs wore number 3. Chris Middleton, this is the one that made you like groan when you heard it. Middleton with the Bucks wore number 22.
Oh.
Yep, I had a feeling that was going to be your response. But 3 is very solid number, solid score to post. Stay on the line. We'll see if it ends up being enough. All right. All right. That brings us to Trey and Durham. Trey, are you there?
I'm here.
The categories remaining for you are NFL Make Your Mark, players with the first name Mark. NFL Vehicle Guys, all players whose names have something to do with driving. NFL Canes and Whalers, NHL Canes and Whalers Only. Those are the categories.
Let's go NFL Mark.
All right. These are all players whose first name is Mark. I will give you the player and the team. Give me the jersey number as quickly as you can. 30 seconds on the clock. You have one pass if you need it. You need 4 for the win. Any questions before we get started?
Nope. Let's go.
All right. Your time will start when you hear the horn. Mark Ingram, New Orleans Saints.
22.
Correct. Mark Gastineau, New York Jets.
89.
Incorrect. Mark Chmura, Green Bay Packers.
86.
Incorrect. Mark Gastineau, New York Jets.
86.
Incorrect. Mark Chmura, Green Bay Packers.
89.
Correct. Mark Brunell, Jacksonville Jaguars.
8.
Correct. Mark Rippon, Washington Redskins.
11.
Correct. Mark Gastineau, New York Jets.
87.
Mark Gastineau, New York Jets.
84.
You were stuck in the 80s with Gastineau. He wore number 99 with the Jets. But you did get 4. That's enough for the win. That's a well-played numbers game from both parties. For those of you playing at home, just so you know, Mark Ingram with the Saints has actually worn 3 numbers. So if you said 14, 22, or 28, you were right with Mark Ingram. All the other numbers he either got or Gastineau with 99. Congratulations, you are the winner. Trey and Durham, are you there? Congratulations, you're the winner. Trey Durham, I'm going to send you through to Dennis. Hopefully you're still on the line because we got to get some info to make sure you get the prize. But a nice little 4 when you need a 4. It's a sweet spot to be.
Well played numbers game.
Yeah, that was just
well
executed by everybody involved.
It's a good game here.
Yeah, I like a well executed numbers game. I get frustrated when somebody gets stuck on 2 numbers and they don't pass. And I'm just saying the 2 over. I'm like, Mark Gastineau, Mark Brunell, Mark Gastineau, Mark Brunell. Use your pass. Today they didn't need to. They were both very good. Understood the action. Good strategy. I'm a fan of that. So well played, everybody involved. Everybody else, I know gets a little bit starstruck when the live mic and you're on the air and it's a little nerve wracking, but try to stay calm. Strategy goes a long way in that game, and you can win. And if you get a perfect score, you're going to get some cooler stuff that we do once a year. So keep calling in. We'll do it again tomorrow. We do it every single day, right about 5:30 for the numbers game. Just to update a little bit on the UNLV quarterback that elected to stop playing, one of his teammates, Michael Allen, who has a tie to the area, he was the 4th leading rusher on UNLV, went to UNLV out of the portal from NC State this past offseason. He also is leaving the program, and he did mention something about arrangements not being met in his announcement on social media. So UNLV, I don't know if there's a worse reputation you can have in college sports from a recruiting standpoint than a school that doesn't pay out their NIL promises. We've heard from coaches all over the country that recruiting has become more and more and more about just how much money can you give me. If you have a reputation of you don't pay out your NIL money, your rivals will use that against you. Now, before we move on, let's go ahead and hear from our guy, Dennis Cox.
All right, folks, Dennis Cox here for my friends over at Loan Pronto. Lower mortgage rates. They're finally here, folks. Thanks to the Fed and Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto just locked in a homeowner recently at 4.59% APR, the lowest in 2 years. Now, whether you got your loan last month or last year, it's time to call Loan Pronto and dump that high-rate loan. You can lock in a lower rate and do it fast with virtually no paperwork and usually no appraisal. There's no limit on how many times you can refi, so get started. Use this opportunity to get cash out and wipe out your credit cards. You can do a cash out refi and get 50, 75, 100 grand or more out of your home and use that money to pay off all those high interest and high debt credit cards and end up with just one low monthly payment. If you act now, you can even skip your next 2 house payments. Purchase loans are available as well, so call now. Get your rate quote in minutes with no hard credit pull and no upfront fees like those other guys. VA Streamline loans are also available with Loan Pronto. Call now, 919-381-1760 or loanpronto.com, 919-381-1760, loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, on approved credit, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan, will continue up next with a midweek check-in with the mid-NFL team. Stick around.
It's bow time. It's not just football season. It's tailgate season, and that includes every kind of football, whether it's got goalkeepers or goalposts. The kick is good! Because it doesn't matter where or how you tailgate. When you've got crispy chicken and fluffy buttermilk biscuits from Bojangles, your tailgate is better than great. It's legendary. Head to Bojangles and order your tailgate box with boldly seasoned chicken, fixins, biscuits, and legendary iced tea today. It's bow time.
Planning a tailgate? Then it's bow time. Bojangles has everything you need for the perfect tailgate, no matter how many fans you're trying to feed. There's the original tailgate, the super tailgate, and for a really big crowd, the jumbo tailgate special. And if you like your chicken off the bone, choose the Supreme's tailgate special that includes 12 perfectly seasoned tenderloin fillets. So grab the tickets, get that Bojangles tailgate special, and go. It's bow time.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the 3rd time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect the ways water is breaking down your basement and damaging your home. Mold, cracks, and of course visible water are just a few signs your basement is compromised. But there's one way to get answers to all your concerns. A free home inspection from Tar Heel Basement Systems. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at tarheelbasementsystems.com.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like you know to check the propane tank on your grill first, before hosting a tailgate.
Let's fire up. Here, let me try. Seriously? You didn't check the propane? Who wants chips?
Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds.
Salt and vinegar?
You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Go to hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, and the process is 100% online. To start your free online visit, go to hims.com/joy. That's HIMS.com/JOY.
TD, Tutty, in for 6. Touchdowns matter more at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. We don't care how they score them. We want to bet on touchdowns, and DraftKings Sportsbook is delivering. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like picking a player to score a touchdown. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. Score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Download the Sportsbook app and use code TIMD, that's code TIMD with no spaces, for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 877-185-543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov. 21 plus. North Carolina only. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball.
Train heating and cooling systems are engineered to keep up with you. We run together. Visit traininfo.com to find your local independent train dealer. It's hard to stop a train.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan on a Wednesday. Emphasis on the Wednesday, because it is midweek. Now, I'm not sure I can pull this word off as like a slang word, but all the kids are saying mid.
Mid? Yeah, that's the thing.
Like, oh, that's so mid. Can you actually explain that one better than I can? Because I feel like I'm going to sound like the oldest person in the world.
It's funny, me being older than you, explaining this to you.
Yeah,
mid is
you're definitely more up on like culture than I am.
Mid is basically saying something like, it's not that great, it's not terrible, it's not good, it's just middle of the pack. It's mid.
Is it insulting?
It is.
Okay, so there's a little bit of insult.
There's a little bit. It's obviously it's a step above trash.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Could be worse.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe that's how it's like mid means it could be worse.
Yeah, you could be trash.
Definitely could be better. So we thought midweek, in honor of mid, we would name the most mid NFL teams, which is kind of like a play on everybody has their power rankings, top fives, their bottom fives. We're going for mid. I have 2 teams I want to throw into the mix. I don't know how many you came with.
Okay.
I think the most mid team in the NFL is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Oh, the Bucs. Okay.
They are 2-1.
There's no Dave Canales?
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Maybe they were above mid last year. I looked up, my overthinking brain took it right to like go actually do the research. 15th in points forced. That is like one step above the middle. 17th in points allowed. They are as mid as it gets. They are mid on offense, mid on defense. They're 2-1. If there was a way to be 500, they should be 1-1-1. They should have gotten a tie. But they are mid, and it's ironic because I talk about this. I've talked about this quite a bit. I consider, like the Mendoza line in baseball, batting 200, with kind of the expectation that like if you're below the Mendoza line, you kind of need to be replaced. And if you're above the Mendoza line, as long as you're great at defense, and whatever. I've considered Baker Mayfield the Mayfield line for a while. And this goes back to when he was in Cleveland, with the idea being NFL quarterbacks don't get paid because they're the best. NFL quarterbacks get paid because they're next, right? Whoever's next in line gets the next $50 million deal, $50 million a year deal. And I used to say Baker Mayfield was the line. If your starter is better than Baker Mayfield, you're probably signing him to a big money extension.
All right.
If your starting quarterback is worse than Baker Mayfield, you're probably moving on and looking for your next guy.
I feel like 10 years ago that was the Andy Dalton line.
Yeah, similar. Yeah. Andy Dalton in Cincy.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, 10 years ago.
So it's ironic that we're looking for the mid team, and I'm finding a quarterback that I literally used as an example for like the middle. Like anything below needs to be replaced, anything above is good enough. And I thought that's why it's so difficult to decide whether you pay Baker or not, because it's like, well, I use him to decide if I pay anyone else. And he's kind of right there again. Like he got the $100 million deal, but he's not making $50 a year. He's kind of right there on the middle. So the Bucks I have as a mid team. Who do you have as a mid team?
Despite paying their quarterback $60 million, Dallas.
Interesting.
Yeah, because let's be honest. Yeah, you get a bunch of great talent. Cool. You pay a bunch of guys a bunch of money. Great.
It's like the sum of
and
their
yet
parts.
you're just kind of You're just there.
The sum of their parts might be mid. Like CeeDee Lamb, awesome. Micah Parsons, awesome.
Sure.
But when you average that out as like a full roster, little mid. I'm fine with that. I don't hate that at all. I'm going to go somewhere in their division. Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they're definitely up there for me.
Again, 12th in points forced, 16th in points allowed. It's kind of like they have injuries. They have blame going in every direction. I think they're mid because we're like I told this story on air the other day during Monday Sound Off when someone sounded off on Philly. I've got somebody who I trust their opinion on quarterbacks who texts me every time Jalen Hurts plays. I have no idea if Jalen Hurts is very good or not. That's kind of where I'm at with Philly. It's like, are they very good or not? Are they bad because they're 2-1, but they lost this game, but they won that game? Like, when you're in the middle, it's hard to decide what you are, right? If you play certain teams, you're like, oh wow, you're way better than them. You play certain teams, you're like, ooh, I don't think you can compete with them. What are you? You're mid. You're right there in the middle. Do you have any more?
Cleveland Browns.
Interesting.
Very much mid. Good defense. Myles Garrett is awesome. He's a stud. You have a really great receiver in Amari Cooper. Quarterback holds you back. And unfortunately, I don't think Deshaun Watson and Kevin Stefanski, like, their skill sets don't match with each other, the skill set of the player and the play caller. And you just get middle of the pack, mid. That's what you are.
Do they go above mid if Jameis Winston takes over?
Because Jameis Winston is mid.
But
at best.
Last year, there was a lot of mid from I've said mid a lot, mid from the Cleveland Browns. And then Flacco took over. And I don't think anyone was calling Flacco like a superstar when he took over. But once he did, they were pretty darn good. Jameis can't be what Flacco was?
I mean, possibly, but he's not doing that now, is he?
No, I'm asking.
I don't think so, no.
Is there a path out of mid for any of these teams?
Nope.
Might be our next question.
I mean, trade away Deshaun Watson. Can't do that one.
If you find someone else to take on that contract, you should not be an NFL GM. You should be running like Goldman Sachs or something, because your trading ability, you need to be like an equity lawyer or something that handles mergers. Because you're.
You mean David Tepper?
Actually, you know what? If I don't even know who's the Browns GM. If the Browns GM found somebody to take on Deshaun Watson's contract, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a email in their inbox the next morning from David Tepper like, hey, Appaloosa Management, or the hedge fund I run, is looking for somebody. We'll pay you way more than you're making as a GM to take those negotiation skills over to the business sector, because I don't know how the heck you got blank to take Deshaun Watson's deal. He ain't going anywhere. That's just a time. You just got to wait it out. Anybody else you want to add to the mid NFL ranks?
Falcons.
So there's a lot of
Atlanta
mid.
Falcons.
There's a lot of mid around the division then.
Yeah, there is.
What's mid about the Falcons?
Their offensive line banged up and beat up, but it's funny. We keep talking about how like Kyle Pitts is supposed to be this breakout player, but I feel like we've been saying Kyle Pitts should be a breakout player for like 4 straight years, basically his entire career.
Good rookie year.
He had a good rookie year. That was 3 years ago.
No,
we're still waiting for that. Drake London, like we know what you were in college, but we're still waiting for you to be that. Like,
the last,
you're just kind of there.
2 games, Drake London's kind of woken up.
Yeah, and they've the 1-2 on the year.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said for the collapse this past week. And then also, 1-2 could easily be 0-3 if Saquon Barkley just holds on to the pass. What was that, Monday night? Thursday night? Something like that. Kyle Pitts still makes the one play a game that makes me go, oh, he's so good.
Oh, I know.
He still does it. I'm not quitting.
One flash.
You know who should be very, very, very thankful for Kyle Pitts?
Who?
Kyle Trask.
Yeah.
From Florida. I've never seen a player more. Kyle Pitts is down there somewhere. Bleep it. And then Kyle Pitts came down with a whole bunch of touchdown catches. Kyle Trask was like a Heisman candidate for a second there at Florida. By the way, I'll just do this quickly here. Notre Dame is a good answer for that debate we were having earlier. Somebody sent it to me on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
If you knew going into your college football career as a quarterback you were going to win a Heisman and win a national championship, what school would you choose to go to? Notre Dame is a good one. You're going to be celebrated forever, national fan base.
That's
be a
true.
Celebrity forever, a lot of NIL money.
That's
very good. The only reason I wouldn't choose Notre Dame, I don't like the cold. I don't have to play late games in South Bend, Indiana. I don't want to be going back for like alumni nights for the rest of my life in South Bend, Indiana. When I could choose to go to like somewhere awesome.
Such as?
I've heard Austin, Texas is pretty cool. I think Texas would be a good choice there.
Okay.
I think like the Triangle, I love it here. I think I'm not going to name one because then people are going to get mad. I think Miami would be pretty sweet. If you're the guy that brings the U back, you win a Heisman, a national championship, and then you get to spend time in Miami. Miami just seems like a fun place. Where, like anywhere jumping out to you?
If you did it at Nebraska,
you'd be celebrated.
You'd be
forever.
celebrated for a long time.
They built statues.
I know you and I have talked about Penn State.
Penn State would be cool. Again, a little chilly, but yes.
I don't mind the cold. Wisconsin, big fan base.
Really don't mind the cold.
I don't. I lived in Wisconsin for a bit.
But you came back.
I did. I did come back to North Carolina.
I did notice you didn't stay.
Yeah.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. We have Overdrive coming up next, talking a little like stemming the tide for a rough week this past weekend for UNC and NC State, and how do they move forward. Let off the show with that. We'll lead off Overdrive with it as well. Then there'll be some Panthers talk after that. It's midweek. Tomorrow we're back to Thursday Night Football, so the weekend is here. Have a great night, everybody. Follow us on YouTube. Subscribe, like, comment, all that. 99.9 The Fan. Until tomorrow, have a great night, everybody. We'll see you then.
We're kicking it this fall with college football. Join 99.9 The Fan all season long and catch